Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Market Open. We are here on Thursday, November 7th, 8:47 a.m., and we have a market to analyze. There is a lot going on today. Lots of earnings we had in the pre-market. Lots of earnings we have after hours. We have a Fed FOMC decision at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with a press conference with Jerome Powell at 2:30. That I'll be streaming. So we're going to see if we get 25 bips or 50 bips or no rate cuts. I personally think we're going to get 25 bips. The entire market thinks there's about a 97% chance we get 25 bips. So we're going to see what happens, how the market reacts to when or if we get that rate cut. And on top of that, today is the first day in the stock market after the best day in the stock market in 2024. Yes, yesterday the S&P 500 was up 2.4%. Hit a new all-time high at 590. I believe in the pre-markets right now, we are closing in on 592. We are at 592.76. So up about another 30 bips in the pre-markets. And it was one of the best days in the markets. And that is obviously because Donald Trump became president. Markets started pricing in a lot of policies, ultimately, that would be good for growth and capital spending. Banks absolutely exploded because IPO activity, M&A started coming back, or the perception is that it'll come back. And so markets went up yesterday. So today's going to be a very interesting day because today's one of the first days, obviously, after that big rally that we saw yesterday. I think the broader question on everyone's mind today is, can it hold? Are people going to come buy in? Is there going to be more money on the sideline that says, all right, this Trump thing is real for the next 4 years. We got to get some money into the markets. We can't have it on the side. If you know you're going to get the yield on your money in money market funds or high yield savings accounts start to come down today by about 25 bips, do you start putting it into the market? I think all those questions we're going to have to be answered later today, and the market's going to start pricing in a variety of different things and scenarios that could be happening. And on top of that, Palantir has a new partnership this morning. Palantir has partnered with Amazon. We're going to talk about that in a second. Yesterday was a very historic day for Palantir. I believe we closed above $55. Yes, we did. $55.53, up 8.61% yesterday. We are up 30% for the week. The stock was $40 on Monday. Today it is $55.53, down slightly in the pre-market. Overnight on Robin last night, we were pushing $59. I think it was like a $58.80 or something. It was it's been pretty incredible. So got a new partnership this morning. We'll talk about that in the context of Palantir, but yeah, $55. It's been a couple days now in the 50s, and we're going to see if that momentum can continue in this $50 range. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We got a lot to talk about, a lot to get into. Let's open up these markets. Julie, I'm Beneficial, Mike, Romeo, John, Singer, Nick, what's up? What time is the Fed announcement? 2 p.m. 2:25, I'll be live, but 2 p.m. is the Fed announcement. Walt, GE, Jerome. Is this Jerome Powell? Does Mr. Powell watch the market open? That would be pretty cool if he watched. His face is on the thumbnail of like at least 80% of these market opens. So maybe it's got his attention from there. Gene, what's up? CJ, Neville, June, Martin, what's up? Thank you all for being here this morning. Daniel, David, Tim, who else we got? Ray, Endless Awareness, Nicola, Felicia. Thank you all for being here this morning. It has been a hell of a week. It's already Thursday. We got Friday coming up tomorrow. And we get a money market fund update today as well. And we're going to be ending up the first week of trading in November tomorrow with a pretty historic week in the stock market and obviously a brand new president of the United States that is going to be also dictating the trajectory of what happens in the stock market. How about unemployment? All right, so let's start off with that, some macro data. So let's get into jobs data real quick. We didn't have too much jobs data this morning outside of initial jobless claims. So let me pull that up. They came in. Oh, by the way, the Bank of England cut its interest rates by 25 bips. So two pieces of macro data. The Bank of England lowered its key interest rate by 25 bips to 4.75%. I believe there's 3 other banks outside of the United States today that are also deciding to cut rates. Forgetting the name of those banks, we'll get those countries up in a second, but they're likely going to be lowering rates as well. So across the entire world, right, you're seeing this stimulatory action of rates coming down, which is obviously going to be good for liquidity and opening up money across the world. I really think 2025, we're going to see more IPOs and M&A, which is why the banks with JP Morgan was up 10% yesterday. Wells Fargo was up 13%. Banks make a lot of fees when they take a company public or underwrite M&A activity, all this stuff. So it seems like the market priced that in within a day and said that that's going to be good. And then in terms of initial jobless claims this morning, we had 221,000 people file for Unemployment, 218,000 was expected by the market. So a little bit of a beat. The past 2 weeks, it was a bit of a miss. So kind of bouncing out right here. And now we have 1.8 million continuing jobless claims with 1.853 as the previous. 1.88 was the expectations. 1.89 is what it came in. So nothing too crazy. Markets didn't react to that too much as well. This is the data right here. Let me share the screen. And that's what we got in the context of jobs claims. So from a macro perspective, nothing too much. Today at 2:30 is really going to be when the big decisions come in regards to rate cuts in the macro, and we will see how the market ultimately decides what to do from there. All right, let's keep going from there. So that's what we had in the context of the macro. Let's talk about Palantir. Let's get into Palantir. So how is everyone feeling about Palantir? I mean, like this is one of those. I talked to a lot of people yesterday. Steve's coming out with this article. This is the title of his article. I don't know if he's going to be able to. Well, I think this article will likely get approved. The title of the article is Palantir after appreciating 223% year to date. Too much forward growth is priced in. I was like, Steve, why you got to write such a mean article, bro? Like, what's going? So like, there's definitely a decent amount of people that feel the valuation is getting up there. We have crossed $120 billion as a public company. I mean, look, it's kind of crazy. I get it, but it's also pretty exciting to kind of see what's happening right here in the context of Palantir. And I know a lot of you guys probably agree with Steve that it's a lot of growth is priced in. I think so let me read one of the analyst reports today that came out by our boy Brent Thill. This was the guy who on the earnings day said that he was kind of going tit for tat with Alex Karp on CNBC in terms of what the analysts think of Palantir. So here's what he said. He has an underperform on Palantir. He did not raise his price target, kept it at $28. And this is the logic behind his underperformance, as I can bring it up right here. Also, we had a ton of earnings last night. Lyft, where's that stock in the pre-market? Lyft absolutely crushed it. Lyft right here is $17.63. Palantir has a $1 billion contract with Navy. Go-Kart posted on X. Okay, let me see. Is that actually correct? Let's see. I'm on his Twitter right now. Okay, so this is a notice of intent to award a sole source contract. I don't know if this has fully been granted yet. You are right. The total estimated value is $919 million. Okay, so let me show you guys this thing real quick. So I don't think this is, I mean, I think if this was like real news in terms of it was granted, the stock would be up right now. Off $1 billion contract, most likely. But it looks like this is a notice of intent to award a sole source contract of Palantir Technologies for Palantir commercial off-the-shelf products and services. If this is correct, this is $1 billion over 5 years, $919 million over 5 years. That is not bad at all. About $200 million a year. One of the reasons the market might not be pricing it in is because it's not known. But Go-Kart, for those that don't know, he's a big account on Twitter. He's been on my channel a bunch of times. His name is Adam. He finds a lot of this shit before everyone finds it. So maybe that is correct. I mean, it's the official from the DoD website, or it is from that website. This requirement is for the procurement of Palantir Technologies commercial off-the-shelf products and services, including software licenses, software maintenance and support renewals, professional services, hardware, and hardware support. Okay, folks. It looks like, again, this is not official news, but it's what I'll put the tweet in the chat if anyone wants to read it. It does look like $1 billion over 5 years. Again, it's not official yet. It's not DoD. It's website. Oh, we got him in the chat. Adam's in the chat. Okay, so Adam, this is not an official guarantee of the money yet. This is just an anticipation of them getting proposed procurement action. Adam says it's official. Okay, but because it says proposed procurement action, I imagine they haven't literally given them the contract yet, even though they're basically saying, hey, we're going to give you the contract. It's coming. Okay. All right, folks. So I'm going to put this in the chat. You guys can check out the tweet yourselves. It looks like we are getting $1 billion. Yeah, Adam, can you put the link to the website? Did you put it in here as well? Yeah, can you put the link to the website on Twitter as well? Just put it underneath your tweet, and I'll open that up in a second. Notice of intent to award a sole source contract to Palantir Technologies. All right, well, that's not that's not bad, dude. That's a pretty big. Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe that's why it ran up, Daniel. That's a good point. Market knows sometimes. Adam did say a few months ago it was coming. That's 1000% correct. This is Adam's Twitter for those that don't follow him. Please make sure you're following him. He breaks the news before pretty much everyone even knows that it's coming. But there you go. So I don't think the market fully understands this yet, unless they knew that a couple days ago, which is why it ran up. I mean, look, 8% yesterday outside of the market just going up in general. This could be the reason. The market kind of knew maybe this something like this was coming out, and Palantir kind of didn't confirm it yet through a PR. But if it's on the actual website, it seems like that's fair. Now, $200 million a year for 5 years is amazing. Remember, the Titan contract was $200 million in and of itself, $189 million for 2 years. So $200 million over 5 years is not bad at all. And that just continues to help us get government growth. Now, remember, government growth was at 40% last quarter. And I think Adam will be on the channel soon. He says, I'm still reading in the chat. Okay, cool. So let us know any details, Adam. But Adam has been on the channel a couple of times, and he's been saying government growth is coming. It's like everyone just needs to be patient, but government growth is coming. This quarter was the first time we really saw government growth. And because we really saw government growth at a high level, I think a lot of people are starting to realize how much of a moat the government business ultimately has in the or for Palantir. Now, this is what an analyst said this morning in regards to their earnings, and then we'll go back to that $1 billion deal. Source link added. Okay, I'll pull that up in a second. So this is what Jeffries, our boy Brent Thill, said. With Palantir trading at 38 times 2025 calendar year revenue, it stands as the most expensive name in software, and we've seen an uptick in insider selling on 10b5-1 plans. While we believe fundamentals remain intact, sustaining the current valuation would require Palantir to accelerate growth to 40% for 4 consecutive years and trade at 12 times revenue, which we saw is unlikely. We are downgrading Palantir to underperform due to an unsustainable valuation, and we will wait a more favorable entry point. Our $28 price target reflects a 19 times 2025 revenue multiple compared to the large cap average of 12x. It's not that that analysis is horrible. It's that he's missing what GoCarp just posted, right? What Brent Thill is missing is what GoCarp just posted. And quite frankly, what Brent Thill is missing is what a lot of retail has been saying about Palantir for a long time. There's the source link right here. It is very hard to analyze Palantir as a software company when you don't realize they are getting really big government contracts. Yeah, there it is. There's the real thing. Let me put it in the chat for you guys to check it out. Shout out to Adam on finding this. This is incredible. This is the stuff that Brent Thill isn't looking at. And as a result, it's hard for him to realize how much money is in that government business, how much growth that can create. And maybe it doesn't create 40% growth, but it can create a lot of growth. And then you put a decent premium on it, you're going to get a stock that is valued a little bit more than $28 in the current day. So there you go. Published on November 6th. So it came out yesterday. Notice of intent to award a sole source contract to Palantir Technologies for Palantir commercial off-the-shelf products and services. This is from the official website, folks. This is not from some random website. This is from sam.gov. The total estimated value is $919 million, including options. That is correct, folks. Palantir has just won a $1 billion contract. Palantir just won a $1 billion contract with the Department of Defense and a sub-tier of the Department of the Navy. $1 billion Navy contract. It is official. Breaking live on the Market Open. See, this is why this community is so awesome, because you've got someone like Adam who's been studying this shit for months, and he can break the news live with all of us as part of the community as we're having the show. Adam says the Navy has been the hardest department to get into. All right, Adam, so you will be on the show either this weekend or next week, whenever we can schedule, and we can talk more about this. It looks like he says this is coming in January, so that makes sense. They will probably be announcing it in a few months now. And obviously all of this stuff is announced on the actual government website before Palantir does a PR about it, because until it's literally official and they sign the contract, which this is just like a proposed procurement action to sign the contract, they can't tell investors that, hey, we got $1 billion. But retail investors are kind of obsessed, and we can find this shit before anyone else, which is what we're looking at right here. If you remember the NavWar NGA partnership I dug up, yep, 100%. That seems like it is a big part of how and why we are getting this. Not Adam Bergman. Adam is, there's two Adams. Adam Bergman is also OG of Palantir, but Adam, aka GoCarp on Twitter, he is another person who has been studying the government business from a very, very, very strong level over the past couple of years now. So 919.78 million. So let's just call it 920 divided by 5. We are looking at 184 million a year added to top line revenue growth, booked in for 5 years. Oh yeah, right here. The estimated award for the date of the contract is January 2025. Yeah, look at that. So this might be a reason the stock ran up. I was going to talk about the Amazon partnership today, and we'll get to that in a second, but this might be a reason yesterday that the stock ran up. Also, this was published on the sam.gov website, I think yesterday, right, Adam? November 6th? Today's November 7th. If this was published on November 6th, yeah, look at this. Original published date, November 6th, 2:33 p.m. Okay, hold on. Let's look at Palantir. At 2:33 p.m., did we get a crazy move yesterday? Let's see on the chart. Maybe that could have been a reason. Let's see. On the daily, yesterday was November 6th. Yeah, folks, pretty much around 3 p.m. you saw the rise from, if I'm not reading, yeah, from 53.98 to 55.90. Literally at around 3 p.m., which is 27 minutes after this was published yesterday. And Adam's finding it this morning. That could have been the because I know everyone was confused yesterday why it was up 8%. Like, yes, the whole market was up. Palantir probably deserved to be up 1-2%. But after going up like 17% the day before, another 8% was probably a little confusing to people, I would imagine. It seems like that's what happened. Market always knows. That's correct. Market always knows. Adam says the link I need to check is blocked at work. Look at this. Adam's at work right now helping us figure this out. Shout out to Adam. And again, if you're not following him on Twitter, I'm putting in the chat. If you're on Twitter, this is an account. If you care about Palantir, like, you have to be following this account. And you have to be following him because he breaks news almost every single day. And it might not be like a $1 billion contract news, but it's news that's leading up to the eventual $1 billion contract. And today we're looking at it right now. As he says, there's so much more to come. All right, Adam. So let's get you on the channel either this week or next week, and let's deep dive into this. He's been on the channel like 3 times over the past year. It's so funny because our first podcast we did together, January 2024, like the beginning of this year, we discussed price targets, and I was like, I think 25. He was like, I think 23, 25, 23 to 25. None of us said 30, that's for sure, because the stock was at 16. We're like, all right, 80% gain. Like, that's like we're already being a little greedy right there. I don't think any of us thought 50 freaking 5 was what we were getting. But that's what we got. All right, so that's the $1 billion contract. That seems like it's going to be coming in January. The Amazon partnership this morning also was important. So Palantir partnered with Meta a couple of days ago to be able to bring the Llama large language model into the DoD in a sophisticated way. And today, Palantir, Amazon Web Services, and Anthropic, which Amazon owns a big chunk of Anthropic, are bringing AI to the government and military. The partnership will provide U.S. intelligence and defense agencies access to the Claude 3 and 3.5 family of models on AWS. This partnership allows for an integrated suite of technology to operationalize the use of Claude within Palantir's AIP platform while leveraging the security, agility, flexibility, and sustainability benefits provided by AWS. Further on the press release, it also says, with Palantir's AIP, customers can now operationalize Claude using an integrated suite of technology facilitated by Amazon SageMaker, an accredited, fully managed service, and hosted on Palantir's Impact Level 6 IL6 accredited environment supported by AWS. Palantir, Amazon, Microsoft, and I believe Oracle are the only companies on the planet that have IL6 security clearance. Again, Palantir, $100 billion company. The other company is getting close to $1 trillion, or obviously multi-trillion. And it's pretty incredible because, you know, Palantir is that one small company with the hyperscalers that have such a unique understanding of confidentiality and securitization when it comes to data and privacy in the government, that they're able to work with hyperscalers like Meta and Amazon to bring LLMs, whether there's Llama or Claude, into the DoD. Again, this is why I think Palantir has a broader moat when it comes to the AI landscape, and Karp has said this over and over again. It's not about the LLM. It's about the ability to deploy that LLM, not only in a way that creates business value, but in a way that is secure. And that sounds like, oh, well, you know, you just have to deploy the model. That's not that hard, but it's really hard. And there's a reason why Palantir is growing 54% in the United States, because you need to be able to do it in a specific way that actually allows customers to feel that their data is secure and protected, and that it's actually bringing value to them. So it seems like that infrastructure level to the LLM, which obviously is Foundry and the ontology and AIP layered on top of that, is the moat to deploying AI. And the question is, how big can that become? And Palantir, given their reacceleration of growth in the government and in commercial, seems like it can become pretty big as well. If you look at the Anthropic deal, they mentioned IL6. Yeah, that's what we basically just looked at right here. I don't think Oracle has IL6. Okay, so it's just Amazon, Microsoft, and Palantir then. 3 companies, 2 of them multi-trillion-dollar companies. Then you've got little old Palantir working with those hyperscalers to actually bring it into the government itself. It helps because that's how they started, government first, then commercial. It's smooth sailing. Yeah. I mean, and you know, in 2022, people were so concerned that government revenue was too much, and it was like 60% government, 40% commercial. But a lot of us at the time were like, wait a second, but that's sticky revenue. That's revenue that's not going away. Like, obviously, we want to see commercial scale, but that government revenue is juicy revenue that is going to be there for a long time, which means if anything happens, you can at least rely on that type of revenue. And it always seemed like it was a broader part of the moat versus being afraid at the end of the day. Did you see the Air Force Ontology RFI I posted the other day? I did not see that. Ontology automatically makes me think it's pillies. The one thing Adam did send me the other day was like ontology as a service or something. That was one of the things you posted. It does seem more and more likely that this idea of the ontology being the underlying infrastructure to connect all these things and make sense of them, and then layering AI on top of that, will be offered as a service, will be the operating system for a lot of companies. And they're going to be licensing Palantir or partnering with Palantir or whatever they need to do to get that to make sense. At the end of the day, this large language model revolution, it does not happen without an infrastructure to make it secure. And it looks like Palantir is providing that right there. 5540, if you're just joining, it looks like Palantir has gotten $1 billion contract, $920 million to be exact, over the next 5 years. It is not released yet. It was on a website, sam.gov, that we found just now. I'll post the link in the chat. It looks like it will be announced January 2025. And the market most likely found this news yesterday. And that is why the market probably gave them a run from 53.90 to 55. Because I remember even it was like 2 p.m. yesterday, or like 2:40 p.m., closing in on basically the end of the day. And we just saw Palantir got that spike up. And at like 3:30, I tweeted the picture that it was at 55. And even I didn't know why it was at 55. I was like, all right, I guess the market's just excited. But maybe this deal is kind of what pushed it over the edge here. And that's what we're seeing right now in the markets. Where is the news of the $1 billion contract? Right here. So this is the link right here. Anyone can check it out themselves and go through it. We're probably going to get a lot more details on this stuff coming up pretty much soon. Okay, cool. So that's what we got with that's what we got about this. Adam says, I don't think the suits knew about this yesterday. Well, if the market took Palantir up 8% and didn't know about this deal, and I would imagine either a few weeks or a few months, the market's going to find out that this deal happens. Maybe the market finds out the day it's announced. Maybe the market gets smart enough to find it out before. Then I wonder how they would react to a $1 billion contract. Because theoretically, you could argue, okay, well, Palantir is supposed to win $1 billion contract. So that should be like the growth is already obviously more than priced in at $124 billion. But that's what we thought with 30% growth. I mean, on the Palantir Weekly, we felt 30% growth would be good, not great. Therefore, the market would be like, all right, awesome. We'll keep you guys at $40, but we're not going to take you to 50. And 30% growth was better than great in the eyes of the market. It was phenomenal, and therefore they took them to 50. So now a $1 billion contract with the momentum that Palantir's having, maybe that takes them even higher versus saying, oh, well, they should be getting these contracts, even though theoretically they should, given the growth that's priced in. And I guess we'll have to see how the market ultimately interprets it when that news is out. Let's listen to Dan Ives, get his perspective as well on what he thinks is going on in the broader market, along with AI. We also have some Tesla news we have to cover in just a second. So we will move on to that.
Says under a Trump administration, you see more M&A when it comes to tech. Why is that, and what areas?
Yeah, it's been I think it's going to be a Goldilocks when it comes to M&A. Look, regulatory has been a huge issue. Valuation hubris. I think now we are going to see a tidal wave of M&A, specifically around AI infrastructure, software, cybersecurity. I think I've seen many on the private and public. It's almost like a tech prom. But on both sides, no one's really asking anyone to dance. Now, I think this thing starts. We could see just massive M&A under a Trump administration, in my opinion.
All right, so that's in the public markets. Alex, I'm going to come over to you. You're an early stage investor, as we mentioned, in Pinterest and Airbnb. You have a lot of exposure to the private markets. Following the election of President Trump, or President-elect Trump, I should say, what does that mean for tech companies in the private markets? Before we heard valuations were under some pressure. Does that change now that Trump is taking the White House again?
I think it's really bullish for private companies overall. I think there's some in particular, especially the companies in the Elon Musk universe like SpaceX, that it's just extremely bullish for. We've seen what Elon Musk can do under what has essentially been an adversarial White House, with a neutral or a favorable White House. I think it's just going to be incredible what we see. And yeah. I think this is across the board in private markets.
So Alex, we were talking, off air. You call it the Musk economy. We have a graphic right here calling it Elon Musk corporate empire. I mean, it's a wide range of companies. It's the Boring Company. It's XAI. It's of course X itself. It's Tesla, SpaceX. So when we look at these different companies, In your mind, what kind of valuation premium do we now have under what seems to be a much friendlier administration that Elon Musk actually may be a part of?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a sense in which you could even say that SpaceX and Tesla are so big that they helped Trump win the election. I think with less regulation and an ethos towards building in the United States, we're going to see the deployment of these, potentially extraordinary infrastructures at a much faster clip throughout the country, but especially in the redder states that voted for him.
So, Dan, I want to come back over to you. Again, your new note says you're going to see more M&A, or you expect to see more M&A under Trump presidency. But we were actually together on election night. You were here in studio with us. We were talking about this. We saw some of the stocks surging. Tesla, we've covered that ground, and we well covered it. But you say there's some other stocks, Palantir, also Google, and also Apple, you see as beneficiaries. Why is that?
This is going to be a golden era for AI infrastructure. And I think front and center is going to be Palantir. I think everything Carp and the team are doing, I think from a U.S. DoD perspective, in terms of the belt, we're going to see massive spending there. Hyperscalers. You look at Microsoft, Amazon, Google. I mean, this is really, it is going to be a new era of AI infrastructure. And then when it comes to Apple, despite some of the China tariff worries, I think this consumer AI revolution goes through Cupertino, which is why I believe, in my opinion, for tech, Trump getting in, combined, I think everything Alex talked about, great, phenomenal points. This is now the beginning of the new era of this bull market for tech.
So we've seen in some sectors a boost now that there's the idea there'll be less regulation. Do you expect tech to get that same kind of boost longer term? I mean, I think the consensus is that Lina Khan will no longer be at the FTC. There's going to just be a different regulatory environment.
Khan's been a nightmare for tech. And I think the view is with her out, it changed the whole landscape. I think with some of the stuff Alex talked about, the regulatory environment is going to be so much more friendly in terms of deals, in terms of M&A. I think big tech, you're going to now start to see them getting a little more aggressive when it comes to M&A, specifically in AI, as this AI revolution plays out.
So, Alex, I want to come back over to you and talk about some of these.
So it's interesting. It looks like Gary Gensler is out of a job. It looks like Lina Khan is going to be out. And this is why we saw the banks go up yesterday, folks. The banks went up because it looked like financials are going to get a lot more M&A activity, a lot more IPO underwriting, which is ultimately very bullish for the financials. So just to end out the conversation we were having on Palantir, I'm sure we will revisit it after the market open. If you are just joining, it looks like Palantir secured a $1 billion contract, 920 million, but a billion. It's a billion, essentially. Let's just say it's a billion, even though it's not literally a billion, but a very, very big contract with the Navy. It is not officially out from PR, but it is out on the official sam.gov website. It was published yesterday at 2:30 p.m. when the stock went from 53 to 55. Maybe this is an explanation for why. Maybe not, but maybe it is. And it would be adding 184 million in top line revenue added per year to the government business. It's a 5-year contract that they are securing with the Department of the Navy. So not official yet. I mean, it's official due to the website. It's not official from Palantir's perspective because the not the press release, but the note says that it's going to be announced on January 2025. So it looks like we can look forward to that announcement by Palantir in the new year. But it seems like it's being procured already going into the end of the year. And on top of that, the other piece of news we got on Palantir this morning is they are now partnering with Amazon, just like they partnered with Meta last week, to bring large language models, Claude, Llama, etc., into the DoD in a secure way. Palantir right now at $55.33 in the pre-markets. Palantir continuing to execute. I mean, what more can you say? Absolutely continuing to execute. All right, so we'll get back to Palantir later after the market open. But that was the main updates we have on Palantir right now. Let's go to Tesla. Tesla got a big upgrade this morning. I mean, a pretty decent upgrade right here. 265 to 350. That's a hell of an upgrade. That's adding almost $100 to the stock. By the way, Tesla added about $88 billion of market cap in yesterday when the market opened. Tesla right now is at a $926 billion market cap, $288. That is $12 away from 300. It looks like it wants to get there. And the world's 10 richest people saw their combined net worths increase by a record $64 billion yesterday. Elon Musk made $12 billion himself yesterday via Tesla stock appreciation. This is what Bank of America said. Bank of America analysis indicates that Tesla's position should remain largely neutral to most policy changes discussed, but see potential upside tied to federal regulation of autonomous vehicles and FSD, which aligns to Elon Musk's push for a national standard for self-driving. The Trump administration's approach could create a more favorable regulatory landscape, potentially accelerating Tesla's robotaxi deployment in 2025 by easing state-by-state regulatory burdens. I think this is the single biggest reason why Elon was super big for Trump. I mean, I think Elon obviously also cares about all the social stuff, but like this was a big thing. Elon has spent a reported $130 million on the Trump campaign in terms of all the donations that he's been doing. He made $12 billion yesterday. $130 million to make $12 billion. Not that bad of an ROI, given Donald Trump is now in the White House for Tesla. We are adjusting Tesla's valuation multiple to 10x EV to sales, up from 8x, extending our outlook to 2026 to account for these possible tailwinds. Musk's public alignment with Trump is another factor to watch, as it could yield additional, albeit uncertain, benefits for Tesla. Further, any relaxation in environmental mandates could slow traditional automakers' transition to EVs, providing Tesla room to expand its market share in the U.S. EV sector, particularly as it rolls out more affordably priced models. Additionally, a tougher stance on China may restrict new competitors from entering the U.S. market, supporting Tesla's positioning in the EV space. I mean, this is another argument. If Trump is really going to put tariffs on China, BYD, Li Auto, NIO, all these companies that want to expand in the U.S., it's just not going to be that easy if you have an administration that's not tolerating some of the stuff that we've been tolerating over the past couple of years when it comes to China. And although that could be bad from like an inflationary perspective or from a potential trade war perspective, which does have to be analyzed in terms of that impact, it also could just be good for American companies and just increase their market share over the short term, which ultimately could help them over the long term as those things are resolved in regards to inflation, tariffs, and trade wars. So as Joseph says right here, Elon is the new kingmaker. It seems so. I think when you get to a point in life where you're so rich, you have to watch out for your wealth and protect your wealth. I believe, I mean, it seems to me pretty obvious that Elon spending $44 billion on Twitter when Tesla is worth multiple trillions of dollars will be seen as pennies, because ultimately those $44 billion was protecting Tesla's brand and reputation against the mainstream media, which we know objectively over the past 10 years has been trying to fight against Tesla for a variety of reasons. One of the most obvious reasons, they get a lot of money in advertising from the oil and gas industry, and as a result, they have a more they have a like more antagonistic and hostile stance against Tesla, and they end up retaliating a lot of times towards them. So buying that social media platform at $44 billion, did he overpay? Sure, but if Tesla's worth $5-6 trillion and that $44 billion was enough to protect Tesla's brand and image because it, you know, allowed free speech and the government wasn't colluding with Twitter, then ultimately that could be very, very valuable one day. And that is why it's important for him to do that. And on the contrary, spending $130 million for a billionaire, a multi-hundred billionaire on a Trump campaign, where you can get a literal best friend in the White House, it seems pretty obvious there. I mean, the other thing that's important here is that Trump in his acceptance speech was quite literally, I think he went on like a 3 to 4 minute soliloquy about Elon's SpaceX and the rocket landing in the chopsticks. Like part of that historic speech on his second victory speech for becoming president is going to always be remembered as him talking about Elon for like 4 to 5 minutes. And so when you've got someone that is that friendly towards you and you help them get elected, it seems pretty likely that this is going to be a good relationship. Now, maybe, you know, Trump, a lot of times, random things happen. You never know. Maybe Trump switches his mood. We don't know what'll happen. But it does seem like for Tesla shareholders, this is going to be a good thing, not a bad thing. And overall, might not be the worst thing ultimately for Tesla's trajectory. So we're gonna see how this ends up happening. Is Elon gonna be the first trillionaire? I mean, with space, I don't know what his stake in SpaceX, but SpaceX is like 210 billion. Tesla's at 920 billion. So I mean, those two companies get another round of funding in terms of Tesla just getting their stock go up and SpaceX getting a valuation boost. I don't know if he's not gonna get to $1 trillion off that, but he's gonna get more closer than he is right now, which seems like it's gonna get there. When are you going to get Tesla? Yes, speaking of Tesla, I'm picking up a Tesla today after the market opens. So I am helping for those Q4 deliveries, and hopefully that helps boost up those numbers when it comes to Tesla. Lee says, I think Musk expected to be laughed at over the Twitter buy and overpay, but to be shit on every day for years by Dems, I think that pushed him to be a pro-Trump supporter as well. Yeah, we know Elon was a Democrat, and he ended up changing after, Biden kind of shunned him from the EV revolution and kind of gave other people the credit to see that happening as well. Peter, I'm just seeing your super chat. Sorry for that. Thank you for the $10. 2 days ago, Dan Ives was saying Kamala was better. This guy lost all credibility. You know, I like Dan Ives, but it is weird. I will say that 2 days ago, before the election, Dan is like, hey, Kamala's better for big tech. And now Dan is like, actually, Trump is great for Tesla. Trump is great for big tech. I mean, it is a bit of a switch, but granted, he's an analyst and he has to react towards the news and kind of come up with a narrative regardless of, what happens. So for me, I'm taking it with a grain of salt. But yes, it was, when I saw that tweet by him, it was a little weird because it was one of those things where it's like, it's not really a consistent message right there. And look, I don't know if I don't think Tesla would fail under a Harris administration. I definitely don't think the stock market will be up 2.5% yesterday if Harris won. I mean, like it seems like this was a very, very big idea around Trump winning and his policies enacting more growth. And that's why we saw the market go up. It was so funny yesterday. My sister called me right before the market closed. And she was like, she voted for Harris. And she was like, why is the stock market up so much? And I was like, I told you why the stock market's up so much. I told you if Trump won, like this was probably going to happen. And she was like, this is really cool. I was like, yeah, this is really cool, right? And it was so funny because like, dude, there was zero remorse in her voice about the fact that Harris lost, even though she voted for her. Because she saw her portfolio. She was up a lot of money. And so it's like when your own economic mobility is enhanced by whatever is happening in the world, you tend to not care that much a lot of times about the issues that you thought mattered because your economic mobility is enhancing. And so for a lot of people that aren't part of the investor class, we had Chris Camillo yesterday who said the greatest thing or the most important thing over the next 10 years, given this Trump presidency, is to be a part of the investor class because it's going to be very friendly to business in terms of his administration. When you're part of the investor class, you stop worrying about a lot of the things you thought you cared about because the money is what really drives everything because your economic mobility guides, honestly, the happiness and prosperity of your life. And if that goes up like it went up yesterday, a lot of people end up getting pretty happy with the results. Let's hear from Gene Munster on what's happening with Tesla as well and get his update on why the stock is going higher.
Around Trump, his next big bet's autonomy, and the probability that that's successful goes up a little bit. As far as how much of that's sustainable, I mean, the shrewd investor would say, well, what is the real play? What's the opportunity? And we've kind of outlined these numbers, but just to recap, is that if Tesla gains 50% share of the US ride-sharing market by 2030, which actually I think is a reasonable target, we'll save that discussion for another day, but that would add about 20% to operating income. And so stock's up 15%, that adds 20%. Now they can take this in other parts of the world, but a lot of it got priced in a hurry. I'm a big believer in what that means. The one piece that maybe wasn't priced in today is that if they sell more robo-taxis, Elon's talking about 2 to 4 million a year ultimately. That'd be about a third of total Tesla deliveries. I'll take the under on that. I think it's probably closer to 1 to 2, but that's another piece. So Melissa, to answer your question, I think that this kind of fairly reflected or started to price in some of the robo-taxi opportunity.
Yeah, and then that's where analysts and so many Wall Streeters got so bullish after that cybercab event. That's where they sort of said, the market cap could be X, Y, and Z above what it is right now. In terms, though, Gene, of some of the other parts of Elon Musk's empire, like SpaceX, I mean, Trump has said we will put an American astronaut on the moon thanks to, thanks Elon, I think, something like that. And I'm wondering if you think that there will be other impacts here that we are not even seeing, whether it be Twitter or SpaceX or some of the other ventures he has.
Well, he's got the golden touch right now and has the year. And so I think that, yes, there are going to be, SpaceX is a clear beneficiary here. Phil talked about potential that the tax credits are going to go away around EVs. Maybe they actually stick around for longer than expected. And so there might be another angle around Tesla. As far as what's going on with X and Twitter, that piece is that there's probably a benefit just around his ability to continue to grow that platform, just kind of in a more free speech type of world. And lastly, don't forget about X.AI. I mean, the whole AI piece, this potential around some regulation around AI that diminished today. And so I think that this is still going to be pedal to the metal in terms of what it's the infrastructure that's going to be built. And they just raised a bunch of money, obviously XAI, and I think that should bode well. So I'm stretched to try to find out how this could play out negative for Elon.
And, you know, Gene Munster is one of those analysts that's been following the Tesla story for almost a decade now. So when he says, I don't see how I can find a negative for how Trump is bad for Tesla, something would really have to happen that's out of the ordinary that people aren't expecting. It seems like there's a lot of different arguments for why this goes good. And again, this really isn't political. It's not like pro-Trump, anti-Trump. It's literally, does this guy being in the White House help Elon and his companies? And I wrote a post on this yesterday on Twitter. Every way you slice it, it seems like there is a way to justify that momentum. Amazon Web Services is planning to invest $1.3 billion in Italy over the next 5 years. That news just came out from Reuters. Amazon has not made that many investments into Italy. I mean, a lot of companies haven't, quite frankly. So there you go. Amazon expanding into Italy with about $1.3 billion. Let's get Tom Lee's perspective on yesterday's record day for the stock market, with the S&P 500 hitting all-time highs, up 2.4%, the best day in 2024.
Right to this record-setting rally. Joining me now is Fundstrat Global Advisors Head of Research and a CNBC contributor, Tom Lee. Tom, it's great to have you on. 1,500 points for the Dow today. We haven't seen a move like that in a couple of years. Where do we go from here?
Wow. Well, I think, Morgan, today is really an example to show you that the market did not price in an election outcome. If it did, we'd be trading flat. I think it's real evidence that many investors, and this is something we could tell talking to our clients, de-risked ahead of an election because they thought there'd be a lot of social unrest, et cetera. And so I think money's being put to work, but in a way that reflects there's quite a lot of animal spirits in the sectors people are choosing.
The small cap, I should note, we have Qualcomm earnings out. We're going through those results. We'll bring him to you in just a moment. Mike Santoli is also with us now. So Mike, I'm going to go to you on this one. And
Qualcomm crushed, by the way. So we'll talk about the earnings from yesterday. Qualcomm crushed. A lot of other companies, Lyft crushed. A lot of companies did really well. Qualcomm buying back $15 billion of their stock. So we'll talk about the companies that reported today morning and yesterday. Palantir just went green in the pre-market. So did Tesla. They were both red in the pre-markets. We got about 40 seconds until the markets open. They just went green. Lyft is up 23%. S&P 500 at 593. Again, we will have Mr. J. Powell make a decision today on our rate cuts in about 4 hours. I'll be live for that. And so we will see what he does. But that is something I think it's kind of priced in. But still, when we get rate cuts, I think the market will be excited for that. And we might see continue added momentum for equities. 55.70 on Palantir. We got 23 seconds left. If you are just joining, if you go to my Twitter, you're going to see two posts. The first post is Palantir getting a $1 billion contract, not confirmed, but basically confirmed by the Navy. That's going to be announced January 2025. And second, Palantir partnering with Amazon. Two big pieces of news. We don't really know if the market knows about it yet, but given how the stock is reacting, the market might know about it. Thursday, November 7th. Thank you, everybody, for being here. The stock market is now open. Wake your ass up. Here we go. Okay, we did touch 56.12 on Palantir. So that bell ring kind of counts for 56 as well. It was super quick while I was ringing. I was like, all right, well, it was 56 for 2 seconds. That means we broke above the 56 wall. I don't know how many shares were there, but that's important because that means the ability for us to get back above 56 does seem like it's possible. Again, Palantir does this a lot in the opening minutes. It opens up a certain level, gets there a couple cents over, you break through the wall, then it comes right back down because you have a lot of sell orders taking profits right there, and then it slowly makes its way back up. A lot of times makes its way back up pretty quickly. 55.72 right here. The fact that we're even gunning for 56 is freaking incredible. But that's what we got going on right here for Palantir. We'll get back to Palantir in a second. Lyft is up 21%. S&P 500, new all-time high, 593.34 on the S&P. Robinhood, 29.28, down 2% on the day. Yesterday, Robinhood had an 18% day, so one of its best days. Makes sense that people are taking some profits right here, down about 2%. But $29.24 for Robinhood. Rocket Lab is above $13. $13.22, up 1.3% on the day. Oh my God, Palantir is 10 cents away from 56 again. Let's see if that momentum can continue. You got Grindr at 14.50. AppLovin is up 38%. They had a huge quarter yesterday. If you're in AppLovin, congrats. This is the best performing tech stock of 2024 at almost 400% year to date. Elf, I listened to their earnings call last night. I was very impressed. Don't know too much about the company, but was very impressed. And Elf right here up 8%. Palantir, $56 again. I think we got to do another bell ring to make it official. Here we go. Palantir now a $125 billion company breaking above 56. I don't want to say 60 is in play, but it kind of feels like if the momentum is there, maybe 60 is actually in play. NVIDIA, wow. NVIDIA is at 147. NVIDIA now a $3.6 trillion company, new all-time high on NVIDIA. SMCI is down about 1%. Clean Sparks flat on the day. Where is Bitcoin? I think Bitcoin's taking a breather. Bitcoin, slightly down on the day. I mean, slightly up, but below that 76,000 level at 75,000. So you got Bitcoin right there. Palantir now definitively breaking over 56. Look at that. Definitively breaking over 56. Palantir and NVIDIA kind of moving together today. This morning, Palantir up 1.13%, $56.18 on Palantir. And NVIDIA right here getting into that 147 range. Palantir $56.30. Oh my goodness. Volume is only, I mean, not only because we're 3 minutes into the market, so 9.7 million shares. Palantir's volume yesterday was 200 million. So if it keeps up with the level of shares that are being traded every 3 minutes, then we're going to definitely surpass 200 million. But you got $56.04 right here on Palantir. Folks, this means people are buying it at 56. Like, you know, if it's above 56, people are legitimately paying $56 a share, $125 billion for Palantir. And it's likely because the market believes that growth will be, or Palantir will be able to grow in to the valuation as they continue to grow and get more momentum. Tesla at 287, down about 0.43%. I also have another reason why I think Palantir is getting this valuation that I'll talk about in a second. But it's something we talked about before, but I think maybe it's starting to become real in the context of Palantir. Dutch Bros is up 36%. 30. Is Starbucks down on this? Is Starbucks down at all on this? Starbucks, no, is up. Okay, so Dutch Bros is up. Starbucks is not going red there. Rocket Lab at 13.34. Robinhood at 29.44. Elf Beauty is up 10%. DraftKings is up a little bit. Dutch Bros again 37%. SoFi 11.90. SoFi up about 0.72% on the day. Again, AppLovin is up 40%. Right now, Meta's up 1.8%. Celsius is up 0.5%. Micron is up a little bit. Let me look at the other semi stocks and see how they're doing right now. All the semis are green except ARM. They had an okay earnings yesterday, not the best earnings, but it was decent. And SMCI, everything else is green. NVIDIA is now above 147. NVIDIA looks like it wants 150. AMD at 146. ASML 672. Broadcom is up. Qualcomm is up 3.82%. Again, decent earnings, but it's up a lot this year already. So Street probably not giving it a huge multiple expansion, but the stock is up on decent earnings. Dell kind of flat on the day, and then Micron also flat as well right now. Archer Aviation is up 7%. They have earnings later today. We'll cover them on the market close. Yeah, Archer's up 7%. Look at that. 7.32%. Joby had earnings yesterday. Tesla's kind of flat at 288. Bitcoin just went red, 74,692. Robinhood 29.45. SoFi 11.94. Dutch Bros 35% on the day. They grew revenues at 30%. EBITDA margins and EBITDA multiples expanded. So it seems like the market's excited around Dutch Bros organic growth. And that's why it's giving it some love here. This is pretty incredible. So we're saying Palantir Stories feels like Celsius. What do you think? Okay, so what TM is saying right there, I believe, is Celsius ran up to 99 and then it fell all the way back down to 30. So you're saying Palantir at 55 could be a run-up that ultimately gets hit back down into the 30s or the high 20s. Look, I can understand that perspective. I just think the momentum is there for Palantir at a level we haven't heard of before. So here's my theory on why Palantir is going up right now and why it's getting this momentum at $125 billion market cap. I think, and it's a very simple idea, Amazon's at 208. Look at that. Amazon finally breaking through that Bezos wall. I think if OpenAI is worth $157 billion and they're not profitable, and you could argue they're making a commodity, and Palantir is at $125 billion, looks like we got another $30 billion to go for the market to be like, okay, so now now they're comparable, which would basically be $70 a share. I know that's just euphoric. I know I'm just spitting that out there, but at this point, given the price action, I feel like some theories have to be out there as a form of potential validation. And if the market's thinking Palantir is going to be more valuable than OpenAI one day, just in terms of the level of sophistication and infrastructure they're providing on this AI revolution, maybe they're comping it against the private market valuation of OpenAI. If investors are willing to pay that much for a company that doesn't make money, maybe they're willing to pay that much for a public company that does make money and is reaccelerating growth. Maybe that is an argument. So that's one way to think of it. That could be wrong, but I think that could be an argument for why the market is kind of giving Palantir some of this momentum right here. SoFi above 12. Are we back above 12? Dude, SoFi deserves to be $15 right now. Yes, SoFi 1208. So like if capital spending is going to be the way the market thinks JP Morgan and Wells Fargo are going to benefit from it, then SoFi deserves to be at $15. Why? Because look, JP Morgan's a multi, trillion-dollar bank in terms of all the assets that it holds. So it's going to make a crap ton of fees off more capital spending. SoFi is not as big as JP Morgan, not even, by a slice, but SoFi grows more than JP Morgan. And so it's not like SoFi is going to make a ton of fees off M&A and IPO and all that stuff, but the organic growth they should be able to have from more loan originations as rates come down, it'll be gigantic, and it's going to be growing way faster than any bank in the country. So if you give it a little bit more of a hybrid valuation, I mean, that SoFi to $20 by January 2026 is not looking that crazy to me anymore, especially if the market's willing to give these banks some added momentum. So I think SoFi above $12 makes a lot of sense right here, up about 2.1%. Amazon breaking healthily above 200. Maybe we are officially at a point where Amazon is above 200 and it stays above 200, $208.75. The market is buying it up. Bezos might be selling, but it's not affecting the stock right here as the market believes that a Trump victory is bullish for Amazon. This stock right here at 208 is probably why Bezos went up to the Washington Post editors, put his hand on their shoulders and said, you can go home now, before they published that endorsement of Kamala Harris. I mean, quite literally, dude, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to realize that Bezos wanted Trump. He wanted the stock to go up because he wants to get richer, and he didn't want to use his media company's influence to even have a chance for Harris to win. I mean, that's my read of it. I don't think it was because we need to stay politically neutral. It's like, no, dude, he didn't stay politically neutral for the past 20 years of owning the Washington Post. Why today? Well, because he wants the stock to go up. It seems like that's kind of how it played out. S&P is up another 40 bips right now, 593. I think they're pricing in a 25 basis point cut today. If they're not, and we get 25 bips and we go to 595 or even further, then we could see some pretty amazing momentum on the broader market today. Amit, where would you be putting cash today? Honestly, I don't know, dude. That's a good question for the chat. Where would you guys be putting cash? Because what do you invest in? You can add to your current positions, but a lot of these current positions are up a lot, right? Do you buy Nvidia at 147? I mean, maybe if you've been buying Nvidia for the past couple of years and you can average up without, ruining kind of your cost basis and you just get more momentum. Sure. But what do you buy? What is cheap? What's on sale? What's a discount? Enphase, Enphase down, Enphase flat right now on the day. It was down 15% yesterday. Oh, Solar Edge. Oh my God. Solar Edge earnings, guys. They lost $15 a share. They were supposed to lose $1. This stock was down 20% yesterday, down another 4% right now. Solar Edge really got hit badly yesterday. It looks like Solar is not in the best position. Okay, I see some of the comments coming in. A lot of people saying Tesla. I don't hate that, given the Trump catalyst. So actually, SoFi, I mean, look, if you think SoFi benefits in 2024 or 2025 from lower rates, SoFi has just broken out of that $6 to $8 channel that it was in for 3 years. So that's not horrible either as an argument. Archer Aviation, that's a little bit more of a moonshot if you want to kind of allocate to that. I'm not seeing a lot of people say Apple, Amazon, Tesla. A lot of people are not saying the Max 7, and that makes sense. It's hard to buy the Max 7 right here when you're seeing the entire market expand multiples across other verticals. Apple 226, Microsoft 421, Meta 585, Google 180. Google getting back all of its earnings gains that it gave back the day before the election. So Google getting some momentum. Amazon 209 now. Amazon trying to get to 210. Nvidia 147.4. Tesla green on the day at 289. It kind of feels like Tesla 300 by the end of the year is happening. I mean, if you get a melt up scenario, you get lower rates, you crush on Q4 deliveries. It does feel like Tesla 300 is not crazy to think, as long as it can hold on to these levels. So it seems like that can happen. Chris CRM says Tesla, Nvidia, Palantir will all go up because wealth funds and international still piling in. Well, here's the thing. I saw a tweet about this the other day, but or I saw this from Ryan Dietrich, who manages money at the Carson Group. He's been managing money for 15 years, and he said, look, do not underestimate the fund manager that has underperformed all year, because he said bonds would do better than stocks going into the end of the year and having to have a meeting with his clients and not having any real results. Those people, he says, given he's in the industry, will chase. And it's just one of those things that always happens. It's not just like retail that chases. I mean, fund managers are also theoretically retail minded. They're humans at the end of the day, even if they manage a fund. And so human nature is universal. If you feel like you missed out on a generational, I mean, dude, 2024 has had the best 215-day start to the year in history. It's unheard of, bro. It's been one of the most best years in the stock market. And if you missed that because you thought bonds would do better, there might be a world where you start chasing heavy, and that could lead to Palantir going to $60 because you feel like you're underweight. So we're gonna have to see kind of towards the end of the year how that plays out. Okay, someone is spamming Palantir announcement in the chat. Let me go to Palantir's Twitter and see if they made an announcement. Oh, the Anthropic model. Yeah, so they just tweeted that. Yeah, we covered that news, Ben James. We covered that news already. So the Palantir Amazon announcement, that was announced this morning. We covered that for the first 30 minutes of the show. So look, I don't know if that's the reason why the stock is up right here. I think right now this is momentum. I don't think the Amazon partnership is getting them over the edge. I think this is momentum that's creating this 1.4% gain, or it might be the $1 billion contract that Palantir got yesterday that they didn't really officially get through a press release, but we kind of know they got it through the DoD website. And that is why you might be seeing this momentum right here. Okay, cruise lines. How are cruise lines doing? Carnival right now is down about 1%. It was up a lot yesterday, so people probably taking a little bit of profits. Robinhood 29.42. Elf was up 10%. Good earnings yesterday. DraftKings up 1.4%. Here are the earnings that we had yesterday. So yesterday, Upwork is up 16%. They had good earnings. IONQ. A lot of you guys have been talking about this as a quantum computing company. They're up 15%. ARM up a little bit on the day. Jovi's down on the day. Zillow's up 23%. I did not get a chance to go through Zillow's transcript. I don't know why they're up 23%. They did double beat, but looks like the street is pricing in further growth for the housing market in 2025. Dutch Bros up a staggering 37%. Incredible. FICO's up about 1%. Duolingo's down 3%. They had a good earnings, but stock was up a lot this year. Lyft is up 30%. What was really sad about seeing Lyft up 30% right now, I don't know if Doug, there you go. Doug's in the chat. I was telling Dougie, I looked up our DMs on September 10th when Lyft was $10. I texted him and I was like, Doug, we got to look at Lyft. But then, I went to AIPCon and then Palantir started moving and like, I forgot about it. He forgot about it. I didn't even know they had earnings yesterday. And then yesterday on the market close, we're looking at Lyft up 20% and we're like, maybe we should have looked at Lyft. So Lyft right here, $18.72, up 30%. It IPO'd at 70. So it was already down a lot at $10. It kind of had nowhere to go but up if they had some good results, and they had some pretty decent results. So Lyft right here, up 30% on the day. Mercado Libre down 15%. I don't know if it deserves to be down 15%. I think their earnings were good, not great. I think the stock was just up a lot, which is why they were up like 40% year to date. So that's why the market is not giving them that much love, but they are down 16% right now. This is the Amazon of Latin America. Qualcomm up 4%, and then Elf Beauty right here, up 10% on the day as well. Why is Meta ripping? So one of the reasons why Meta was down when Trump got elected was because of that whole TikTok ban. I thought that was kind of stupid. I don't think TikTok's taking away any of Meta's market share because TikTok is in the United States right now and Meta's crushing it, $40 billion every 90 days. So I think Meta's up just because people are realizing, hey, Meta's cheap. Like, why are we? I mean, this is a stock Steve said on the show, Meta should be worth $650 right now. And I couldn't, look, it would be expensive at that level, but I don't think it would be egregious. So at 587, maybe this is one of the biggest discounts outside of Google in the Mag 7, and investors are kind of piling in to Meta based on that news. Thoughts on Palantir? Jay, I don't know if you're new to the channel, but my thoughts on Palantir are that I think it's a really, really cool company, and I think the stock is reflecting some pretty amazing momentum is what I'll say. I mean, look, how do you characterize your thoughts on Palantir after going up 200% year to date when most people thought it would maybe go up 50 to 70% if they had a good year? I mean, this is better than a good year. This is this is ridiculous. By the way, the $75 and the $80 strikes are out on Palantir. So you've got $80. So for people who are thinking of rolling their covered calls, you at least have some new strikes you can roll to, which might help offset the pain of being underwater on those covered calls. Look, either in 2025, we are all very humbled if Palantir takes a massive correction, or we found the next NVIDIA. I mean, I feel like it's one or the other, or it's flat the whole year, which also is not the worst thing ever because after a year like this, you kind of need time to consolidate. But I don't know, dude. Karp's got a book coming out in 2025. He's going to be doing a lot of marketing. If you're getting billion-dollar government contracts overnight, that's going to only increase momentum. If OpenAI raises at 250 billion, you think Palantir is going to be stuck at 120 billion. If the next leading AI company is raising at close to $500 million, I mean, there's just so much momentum. And then you got Trump in office. You got your boy JD Vance, who's the VP. You've got lower rates. I mean, I know the growth is priced in at a very expensive multiple, but stocks have been expensive before, and they will be expensive in the future. And Palantir just might be an example of that right now. We can't call anything expensive now. Yeah, pretty much. We can't call anything expensive now. What covered calls do you think are the best on Palantir? Okay, so if I had to sell covered calls at 55 from this price, I mean, I don't know, dude, because I would say 65, but like at 45, I thought 55 was crazy. So I don't know. I really don't know. Honestly, I kind of wouldn't sell the covered call. I would just like let it chill out. Maybe if you see it retrace back to like 50, then you can feel more comfortable because you know it's consolidating, but it's still in an uptrend. It hasn't broken out of the uptrend. And so maybe the covered call might not be the best rate. If you're rolling though, I would probably go for like, 65, 70, a couple months out just to get some time on your hand as well. But again, the more time you wait, if Palantir keeps going up, I don't want to say stocks go up forever. So I don't know, but at least it'll give you more capital appreciation if you're underwater. Like if you have a $45 covered call, even if you have to sell it at 65, at least you get $20 more a share, right? Even if those shares get called away, which is the most important thing when it comes to at least defending some of the gains that you have on Palantir. Amit, don't you want to gamble on the miners a little bit? No, I do not want to gamble on the Bitcoin miners at all. I think there's other Bitcoin proxies that are better than the Bitcoin miners. Look, I think Bitcoin is in a bullish uptrend as well, and Trump presidency is good, and it's been holding 70,000, which is nice. I just hate the business model of the miners. Coinbase right here at 243. Coinbase was up 30% yesterday. Coinbase down about 5% of the day, but Coinbase had a good day. MicroStrategy 254. Okay, Doug says, can you discuss the Palantir incentive plan? Yeah, that's a good idea. So let me pull this up right here. I don't even fully understand it, okay, but I'm going to pull up the SEC filing and we're going to read it together. From my understanding, at a high level, Palantir employees get grants when the stock closes above $50. The stock has been above $50 for the past couple of days. So they have been granted these grants. And essentially, it's almost like free shares that you pay nothing for. But you're only allowed to sell them at like 70, or the maximum amount you can sell them for is $70. So $20 above the strike price, essentially of 50. Again, I might be explaining this wrong, but this is kind of my understanding of it. So this is what the SEC filing says. Basically, if you've been at Palantir for a long time, there's no way you're not a millionaire off these SARs. I mean, if you've been there for at least 10 years, the amount of shares you must have in these stock-based compensation SARs, it seems like you should be doing very well. So as of March 31st, 2024, the total unrecognized stock-based compensation expense related to options and SARs outstanding was $573 million. During the 3 months ended March 31st, 2024, the company granted SARs that vest upon the achievement of a market-based vesting condition subject to continued service. Market-based vesting condition, aka the thing that needs to happen, is satisfied when the price per share of the company's Class A common stock exceeds $50 based on the closing price on the immediate prior trading day. Basically, it needs to be above 50 for 1 day. Following vesting, SARs may only be exercised on an above price day, which occurs with an open trading window. The maximum appreciation is up to $20 per SAR or $70. So again, I don't fully understand it. I got to talk to some people to like really get the gist of it. But it seems like if you are a Palantir employee, the stock has to get to 50 for you to be granted a ton of what I understand is like free shares that like you don't have to pay for. And you can sell them up to $70. So if you get a share of Palantir for free, meaning your cost basis is zero, and the stock gets above 50, which is what needs to happen, and then you sell it at 51, you make $51. But if you sell it at 70, you make $70. So a lot of employees probably are potentially waiting till 70. I'm sure some of them are selling right now at 55 because they've been there for years. But if you wait till 70 and you get 70 and you have thousands of these shares and you're getting $70 a share with zero cost basis, I mean, like, it's just like, it's a hell of a deal. And I would imagine, employees are very incentivized at that point to get this sucker to $70, which is really good for investors because we also want to see Palantir above $70 because we also have shares in this company, even if we don't have shares with like a $0 cost basis via these SARs. So as I'm Beneficial says, a ton of sells can hit the market, correct? But I don't even think that, dude, if Karp and Peter Thiel selling over $1 billion of stock could not tank Palantir, employees selling maybe, I don't know, up to 200, 300 million, whatever the number is, maybe a little bit more than that. I think that's going to be a dent in Palantir. I mean, that's going to be eaten up quickly by the market. So it looks like that's what's happening. Palantir employees are becoming millionaires. They absolutely deserve it. I mean, this is the beauty of America, right? This is the beauty of dedicating yourself to a company and believing in a vision and, staying there when things are rough. You get to this moment in life where now the markets have a way of rewarding you financially for working hard. That is American innovation that is important to uphold. And Palantir, if it gets to $70, is a reflection of the maximum potential you can receive off those SARs. But the fact that it closed above 50, I think the SARs have been triggered universally, from my understanding. It just needed to close above 50 for one day, and that happened. And so now a lot of employees get to have that liquidity, which is pretty incredible. SoFi right here at $12.02. Amazon at $2.10. Wow. Amazon at $2.10, up 1.68% on the day. That's not bad at all. Enphase down about 1.4%. SolarEdge down a little bit. SoFi still above $12. Google at $179. JP Morgan down about 3% today after being up 10% yesterday. Airbnb does have earnings today. They're up 2.6%. Their earnings are going to be important after the bell. United Airlines flat on the day. Delta's up a little bit. Gold is up today. It was down yesterday. Silver is also up 2%. Interesting. Silver and gold both getting some love today after being down yesterday, the first day after the election. But they are getting some love. Rodney says you have a right to the appreciation above the strike of 50. Yes, that okay. So I think what you're saying is that so Rodney, correct me if I'm wrong. If Patrick gets to 70, the $20 between 70 and 50 is like the actual profit, essentially, like the appreciation. Yeah, I okay. I think I get what you're saying. So it's not that you make $70 a share. It's that you make $20 a share. But if you have thousands of shares, that $20 per share from 50 to 70, which is the maximum amount you can make, is your grant, essentially. Your, so if you have 100,000 shares that were granted via SARs and you execute them at 70 minus 50 is 20 times 100,000, boom, you make $2 million. It seems like that's kind of the interpretation of it, which makes sense. And obviously a lot of employees can make a lot of money if that ends up happening. Now, look, I don't think Palantir thought their stock would get to $54 in 2024. So I think this whole $50 compensation structure, and employees, when they signed their contracts, when Palantir was at $20 or $6, they probably realized, okay, I'm going to be here for a while, right? We're not getting to $50 overnight. And it's not overnight, but it kind of feels like it's overnight. And so I don't think the employees expected this to happen, but now it's happening, And so we are seeing some momentum. Yes, that's correct. Okay, that makes sense. So if you have 1,000 shares of Palantir stock granted to you as an employee, your SARs are triggered over 50. You could sell it at 54 and make $4. 54 minus 50 times 1,000, $4,000. Or you could wait till 70. 70 minus 50 is 20. 20 times 1,000 is 20,000. And you get a lot more of a bonus. Obviously, a lot of employees have way more than 1,000 shares that are granted to them. So that would be very beneficial. Palantir with 2.24 billion shares outstanding. A lot of people that are complaining about the dilution or the number of shares that are out there. Look, there's a lot of shares, and that's why management is barely buying back stock, because I don't think at these levels they want to buy back stock, and any amount of stock they buy back is not going to put a dent in the amount of shares that exist. However, if the company is executing and the talent is the best talent in the world, and that increases top line growth, it's kind of like MicroStrategy. Like the MicroStrategy is collateralizing their company to get the cheap debt. And when the stock gets above the level that they want it to get above, they pay back the debt by issuing more shares. And the debt holders are very happy because they get capital appreciation in MicroStrategy stock via the shares versus the debt, like the 0.75% they're charging on the debt. But MicroStrategy shareholders, existing ones, get diluted. But they don't really care because the stock is up. So it's one of those things where dilution is able to be handled as long as the stock is executing at a high level and the company's performing. Obviously, if the company stops performing, Palantir starts de-accelerating growth, then a lot of people are going to be upset about the dilution. But as long as the company's executing, people don't give a shit about dilution because their stock is going higher. And it seems like that's the most important thing that they care about. Shout out to Mr. Derek Wall for the 20 gifted memberships. Appreciate you, Derek, for the 20 gifted. What did he say in the chat? I told you guys, Derek made a little bit of a big purchase on Palantir on Monday at $40. Derek, if you want to tell them how many shares you bought, you can put it in the chat. But he bought a decent amount of shares on Monday at $40. I don't think he expected 54, but here you go. we're at $54 right now. Dude, I don't think anyone buying it at $40 on Monday was like, oh yeah, in 2 days it'll be up 15 bucks. I think maybe it's a 43, 44, 45, hovering around that all-time high at 47. But here we are into the 50s right now. So there we go. Thank you for the 20 gifted, Derek. Appreciate it. A bunch of you guys just got gifted memberships right now. The YouTube algo is automatically giving it to 20 people right now. Okay, so what else do we have going on in the markets? Meta's at 584, SoFi just below $12. Where's Hood? Robinhood confirmed they had 500 million election contracts traded yesterday. 29.42 on Robinhood. I wrote a little message to Vlad underneath his tweet, and he responded to it as well. So this is what he wrote yesterday. 500 million contracts. So this is what we got right there. By the way, Robinhood's Investor Day. I will be there in New York, December 4th. Crossroads, Roy, friend of the channel, he's going to be with me. So he's going to be flying over from Texas, and we'll be going together to New York City. And we will see kind of what Robinhood has planned for their Investor Day, and maybe we get to ask the C-suite some questions. So Vlad said 500 million contracts. I wrote this. You guys launched this on October 28th. In 8 days, over 500 million contracts were traded. You guys used this opportunity to introduce your brand to thousands of new users in the most growth hacky ways. Took what was trending, built a world-class product around it, launched it at the right moment, used your distribution and scaled. You guys ballooned to number 6 on the App Store for finance, which means a lot of new users. This is unheard of execution and only instills more confidence in those that believe in your vision. Congrats to you and the team. And he said thanks. So it looks like this is going to be a really good quarter for Robinhood if the growth continues. October, we already know was good. November should continue to be good. And that should be very strong in terms of momentum for Robinhood. Where is Rocket Lab right now? Let's see where Rocket Lab is. Rocket Lab 1365. Wow. Why is this up 5% today? Did they have another launch this morning or something? Dude, Rocket Lab just keeps going up, bro. Like every time I think of getting in, like it just like I was looking at, I made a post on Saturday morning at like 9 a.m. I was looking at Rocket Lab premiums, and I was like, this sucker has some good premiums, bro. I know it ran up a lot already, but like it's at $11. Like the premiums are amazing. It's 1360, like over 3 days. Like how did it's just an incredible run this year for Rocket Lab. It's just incredible. It's following Palantir. Yeah, it looks like it's following Palantir here. A Lenovo says Palantir will tank by tomorrow. I have a feeling. So here's the thing, and you guys can answer this in the chat. If Palantir tanks back to 45, I don't think anyone's going to be that upset because a lot of us already feel like, hey, it's getting up there in valuation and we probably need some consolidation. If Palantir ends the year at a mere $45 or even $40, I don't think anyone is going to be like, well, that was a bad year for Palantir. It's just one of those things. It's like, okay, at 54, it was getting up there. It's taking a little bit of break. That's healthy. And it is what it is. I actually kind of think it could end the year at 50, dude. The momentum's on their side. And we got rate cuts coming up towards the end of the year. Like, it looks like the partnerships are not slowing down. They announced 2 big things this morning. It really does feel like closing above 50 is not crazy. And if it closes above 45 or 46 or 42, it's still a year where it was up almost 180%. By the way, if it's tracking NVIDIA, and NVIDIA right here is at, 148. Then if NVIDIA is not falling back down, I would imagine Palantir would get some momentum. Oh, this is a good theory. This is a good theory as well on Derek. Did you talk about my theory on yesterday's pump, the biggest short squeeze of the century? Okay. So this is important. So I want to bring this up. This is a very important point. Tesla, by the way, at 290. Tesla at 291, up about 1% of the day. So one thing Derek mentioned yesterday that I think is really important. A lot of people, by the way, shout out to Jed. Jed has been calling Rocket Lab since $4. Big W's in the chat for Jed. Shout out to Jed. We always congratulate people in this community that get big wins. And Jed, I think Jed, you have 25,000 shares, right? So you are doing good right now with Rocket Lab at 13. So shout out to you. One of the points Derek made yesterday is that so many people going into the election night were short the market, short Palantir, short Tesla, short the S&P, short everything, right? I don't have the exact numbers on this, but it's a theory. And so Derek's argument was if so many people were short the market because they thought Harris would win and they were kind of going against the betting markets for whatever reason, and they felt like a Kamala victory would happen. And then Trump wins in a decisive manner. The Republicans, by the way, last night won the House. They won the Senate on election night. They won the House yesterday. Trump won every single swing state, including Arizona. It is a Republican mandate from the country. What we saw yesterday could have been the entire market covering their short. Or at least to an extent being like, screw this, bro. The Republicans won the House, the Senate, the executive branch. Trump's about to lower tax rates. Like, there's no reason to be short right now. Like, you can't justifiably be short. You can't be like, oh, valuations are up there. Valuations can continue to be up there, especially if you have a very business-friendly administration. So yesterday, what we could have seen across the entire market, why we saw all that green, was a lot of people just covering their short. Amazon right here at 211, up 2% on the day, and saying, you know what? Let's wait it out. Let's wait until something bad happens before we decide to go short again. We're not going to double down on our short with Trump as president. And that short covering might have created a pretty epic squeeze yesterday across the entire market. So that is one theory on why the market had as big of a run as it has, along with the fact that money from the sidelines probably came out and also got into the markets yesterday when they saw that Trump won. Nvidia right here at 148. Look at Tesla, 292. Let me look at the wall at 300 for Tesla. And let's see if there's a shot. I mean, 300 would be asking for a lot today. But let's see. At $300, the wall on Tesla is 493,000 shares. That's like 12 million, right? Roundabout. That is, sorry. All right, I'm going to get flamed for that. That's 147 million. That's not 12 million. So $147 million of Tesla stock has to get bought up at 300 to get that sucker above that level. Yeah, that's going to be important. That's going to get important. Dude, admit, you said Tesla 300 end of year. I said Tesla end of month. Market is saying end of day. Dude, if we get to 300 end of day, I mean, look, the point is, if we even normalize the 290s for Tesla, then 300's coming eventually, right? But like just making sure, because Tesla's had a lot of these retracements throughout the year, right? It gaps up to 270, comes back down to 204, gaps up to 260, comes back to 215. Now it doesn't seem like Trump is bearish from any angle, and so I think there is a chance Tesla just keeps going up on the presumption that robotaxis are launching, that Trump is going to be bullish. Derek says I went deep on Tesla this morning. All right, so you got people like Derek coming in and increasing their bets on Tesla. There is a shot. Amit, why don't you own more of Tesla? Okay, so I've said this many times, dude. I'm very bullish on Tesla, but this year was a consolidation year for my portfolio. Robinhood and Palantir were my two big bets, and Robinhood was a more leveraged bet in the derivatives market. I said that to sound smart, but basically with call options, right? So this year, they're like really, I have no FOMO of not having Tesla or Nvidia. Let's just say that, because the bets I made this year, you know, they've done okay. And next year, I want to take the money from some of the bets I made and then start to diversify into the names that I'm really bullish on, like Amazon, Tesla, etc. But this year just wasn't the year to do that. This year was the year to solidify, try to build something really big, and then use that money to then diversify going into the next couple of years. And so far, you know, it's done okay. So, yeah, if I have to buy Tesla at 300, dude, I have to buy Tesla at 300. But again, because I know how to sell puts, right? Because we're option sellers and we also understand what it means to scale into a position, we can sell conservative strikes at 240, 230 and start to like get into there. And if the stock starts to go down a little bit, can increase the strike to get assigned on some shares, collect more premium. So there is a way to scale into this position. Now, maybe it runs away from me completely and goes to 500. If it happens, it happens. But if it doesn't, then hopefully we'll be able to get into that position as well. Amit, you do own one share. Uh-oh, that is true. Hold on. That is true. I do own one share of Tesla. For the people that are new to the channel and you don't know about this, there we go, baby. Look at that. That's a physical share of Tesla stock. The average is 183, so I'm up almost $100. I'm up more than $100 on this bad boy. I had a bet with Derek. He thought Tesla would tank after the Q1 earnings. I said it would go up, and the loser had to buy the winner a physical share. And this was his message on the share. You guys can take a look at that. I thought it was going to be something nice, like, hey, keep believing in Elon. Elon's the GOAT. Don't bet. I thought he would say, like, don't bet against Elon. He said, go fuck yourself. So obviously he was a little upset about that, but it's nice, dude. We got a nice physical share. I have to get Derek. I have to get you one of these for Palantir. I got to get myself one of these for Palantir too, but this is really cool. There's websites where you can like buy physical shares. I don't know how I would ever cash this in. My goal is to just leave this here forever, like for the next 20 years. And when Tesla's like $10,000 a share or something, then I'll have a cost basis of 183, which would be kind of wild, bro. That would be kind of dope. So maybe one day we can do that. For those that want to get this, I think it's what's the name of the website? It's like giftashare.com or something. Gift to share. Yeah, gift to share. Giveashare.com. That's the website. I'll put in the chat. Giveashare.com. This is the website. And any company you can get in the public markets, you can give a share to someone. It was so funny when I unboxed it, dude, because I was like, all right, what's the message that he engraved on it? And it just like, go fuck yourself. I'm like, so that's it's a little rude, but I understand. He lost the bet and he's losing money, and people don't like to lose money, so I get it. I really thought he would be like, don't bet against Elon. Elon's the GOAT, because he bet against Elon in that bet, so it would be like a reminder to never bet against Elon. But nope, it was go fuck yourself, which is also. It's also kind of nice in a way, It's like, well, this is what it means when you bet against Elon. It ends up turning backwards. MicroStrategy is at 260, bro. Holy crap. MicroStrategy, 1% of the day. That's a new all-time high for MicroStrategy. Goodness gracious. It's an Elon quote. Oh my God. Am I just realizing that for the first time? Holy shit. Yo, Derek, I am just realizing GFY is an Elon quote. Dude, I thought you said that because you were mad you lost the bet. Holy shit. I thought... Wait, now I actually love that you said that. GFY, go F yourself. Oh, man, that's an L in the chat. That's an L in the chat for me. Dude, I thought it was because like I lost the bet, or you lost the bet, and you're like, dude, go fuck yourself. Now I get it. GFY is Elon's like... That was his quote in 2023 at that press conference thing. He told that to Disney. Yeah, he told that to Disney. That's why I made the bet. Yeah, that is why. So I remember the logic of that bet, that Derek made that bet because like Elon was in a bad position that time. He just, told Biger to go fuck himself and all this stuff. So Tesla's sentiment was really low. And the idea was that like, Elon's like kind of bad for Tesla right now, given all the PR nightmares he was getting into. But then Tesla stock from 138 just rallied all the way to 170. And obviously Derek lost the bet. Oh, that makes sense. That it makes sense to put that as the reason you put on the thing that you lose, if that's the reason that you thought Tesla would go down that day on earnings. Sometimes, I'm a little slow. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I'm real. Dude, this has been 7 months. I'm just realizing this. Like, actually, it's been 7 months. I didn't realize that was the reason. I blame Derek. He didn't tell me that. Derek, you should tell me that. Your brilliant intelligence just went 50% down. Hamburgers are from Hamburg. Okay, look, you guys cannot tell me you thought hamburgers were from Hamburg, bro. I thought it was from Texas. Like, hamburgers are the most American meal ever. Then you guys tell me there's a place called Hamburg, Germany. What? Like, I did not know that. I'm sure a lot of people didn't know that. Can't blame me on that. Tesla's at 293. Robinhood's at 29.43. Google's 178. Palantir 54.06. Palantir down about 2.65% right now. JetBlue at 617. Airbnb 145. And NVIDIA looks like it wants to go to 149, bro. NVIDIA is now outperforming Tesla. Tesla 293, NVIDIA 149. Looks like NVIDIA is trying to get some momentum right here. BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF IBIT has had its most active trading day yesterday with more than $4 billion worth of the ETF traded. So you had a ton of people trading IBIT. Also, Pat Gelsinger of Intel bought 11,000 shares yesterday. Not a lot, but Intel's up another 3% after being up 7% yesterday. Kind of bullish, dude. Also, I think Intel's up because Trump wants to make chips in the United States. So that's why TSM was down yesterday and Intel was up. TSM now up on the day at 3%. I don't know why TSM's up today. Maybe people are just buying the dip from yesterday. But Intel getting some love, going from 22 to 25 on Intel right now. Logan says the Palantir physical share from that website you shared amid is $100. Yeah, you do have to pay a premium. You're not going to get the market price like you would on like your brokerage app because they have to ship it and all that stuff. So it's more about the sentiment of having a physical share than like actually buying a share of stock. So that's why you have to pay a little bit of a premium. Is China up today? Is China getting some love? FXI? China's up 5%. Wow. Interesting. The market took China down yesterday on the Trump win. Now market's kind of changing their mind right here. NVIDIA is now a $3.64 trillion company. Apple, $3.4 trillion. So NVIDIA, most valuable company on the planet. And you got Intel up 3% right here. Pizzas are from Pizzolini. Okay, so you guys are being funny now, bro. Pizzas are from Italy, right? Like, Italy made pizza and pasta. I better not have that wrong, bro. I think it's from Italy. J Powell speaks at 2:30. I'll be live at 2:30. and we'll talk about Powell. It's like earnings for Qualcomm never happened. Yeah, look, they had a good earnings. They beat on the top of the bottom line. They raised guidance, and they're buying back $15 billion of their stock. But remember, this thing was up a lot this year. So I know it was up 10% yesterday. It's up 2% right now, but it was up a lot. And in this market, all you can hope for is to maintain your multiple if you're having decent earnings. And the fact that Qualcomm's doing that is not too bad either. Okay, so Palantir's down right now. Guys, again, I really want people, at least if you're part of this channel, to understand Palantir being down 3% is not Palantir tanking. Palantir is up more than 220% year to date. If Palantir goes back to $42, that is not Palantir tanking. That is Palantir healthily consolidating. So please, we've got to be able to like put on our rational hats, even though I know Palantir has been more euphoric. And if it goes back to 50 or 48, that's okay. Like it's not, you're not going to see me complaining about that. And you're not going to see me being like, oh, what's wrong? What's going on? What is the market thinking? It's like, no, dude, think stocks go up, stocks go down. But the fact that, we're holding healthily above $16 from January, that is not bad. And if you're buying it at 54 because you think it's going to 60, you're just trading. And there's nothing I can say to you at that point, right? You've got to be able to have a long-term vision here. And in the long term, things go up, things go down. That's kind of just how things play out. How do you redeem it, stockbroker? Yeah, I think you go to your broker, essentially. You call them up and then you send it to them, and that's how you redeem the share. But if you're buying a physical share, dude, you're buying it to own it like for a long time, right? Because if you actually want to sell the share, then you could, just buy it on Schwab or Robinhood or Fidelity. Buying the physical share is more so to give to a gift to someone because you want them to hold it for a while and keep it as kind of like a memory and a momentum, essentially. Apple right here up 1.4%, Robinhood 29.50, Rocket Lab still 13.50, Nvidia right here trying to push 149 as well. But again, if you do want to sell the share, you would just contact your broker, and that's how you could, endorse the back, notarize it, and send it in, and then they would send you the money. That's essentially how it would get done. Palantir could be really useful in Elon's government efficiency. I agree. And Elon and Peter Thiel still have a decent relationship, and Elon knows JD Vance. Dude, JD Vance is a Silicon Valley tech bro that cares about middle America. And if you know anything about JD Vance, he comes from a very tough background, and that tough background in rural America is what allowed him to have sympathy for that part of America, to really resonate with essentially what is Trump's base. And on the other hand, he's a venture capitalist who went to Yale Law School. So JD is one of those guys that knows how to talk to the Peter Thiels, the Chamaths, the Alex Karps of the world, but he can still, understand what average American wants. And so I think if Elon wants to make the government more efficient and potentially use software that can save hundreds of billions of dollars for the government, maybe there's an argument for Palantir. Silent alert. Thank you for the $2 super chat. GSAT and Apple $1.5 billion deal. Okay, so let's see what that deal looks like. I don't see the news on that right now on Twitter. Let me see if I can pull it up. Global Star signed a $1.5 billion partnership, is a game changer for satellite communications. Is this the company that Apple invested in that does Apple Maps for them? I think they put in some money for this. Might be a different company, but Apple, I guess that's why Apple's up 1.34% right now. Yeah, I mean, look, that seems like a cool deal. The problem with Apple is they're just not growing, dude. So like $1 billion partnership with some satellite company, that's cool, but Apple's got to sell more iPhones. That's how Apple grows. So I don't think those partnerships are going to be interpreted too deeply by the market right now. Peter Thiel's the best friend of Trump. Yeah, that's another thing. Peter Thiel's good friends with Trump too. That's something we have to remember. Investors expect Beijing to announce details on fiscal support on Friday. That's when the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress of China's parliament is due to wrap up a 5-day meeting. So this happened in October, and then it was a nothing burger. So I think the market might be taking China up right now because they think there's going to be something good announced at that meeting. But last time they announced a tax on foreign investments for Chinese investors, which was like the opposite of stimulating the economy. So they got to announce something that the market really likes for them to keep. We have the ARM CEO on CNBC. ARM, one of the important companies in the semiconductor ecosystem. Let's see what he has to say about the earnings that they had yesterday.
We should bring in ARM Holdings. What do you think?
Go for it.
Okay. ARM Holdings shares reversing some earlier stupid losses after beating the estimates. What's the matter? David's laughing at me, Renee. I got Renee Haas on. Renee and I go around and we know that the analysts seem to have some sort of animus towards you. Then they're completely overrun like they were the last time. This was a dynamite quarter. You raised everywhere. You made everything that you said would happen is more so. And what they're keying on, I don't know, it's like, what is 1% of your business? I don't know. Can we just talk about how you got ubiquity? And every single hyperscaler knows that if they don't have Renee Haas, they don't have a product.
Hi, Jim. Thank you all for having me this morning. You know, this is now a year since we've gone public, and we're so happy that a lot of the strategies that we talked about putting in place when we went public about diversifying our strategies, introducing version 9, compute subsystems, they're all coming to fruition. So a lot of things that we talked about a year plus ago when we were doing the roadshow have all now played out. So super happy about the quarter, high end of the guidance. And we've also kept guidance for the year, which is about mid-20s%, 2022, 25%. We were up about that amount last year, and we're projecting to be up about that amount next year. So what we're seeing is a lot of things we talked about really now coming into play.
Well, we did get analysts saying that you did not raise, that it was a beat, but you kept guidance pretty much the same. At the same time, I thought the guidance was so remarkable that there really was no need to be able to raise it. You came through. So tell me what the difference is between the analysts who think you should have raised and what actually happened here.
Well, you know, in terms of the analysts who would like us to raise every single quarter, you know, what we are really focused on
Tesla 294
is executing to our strategies, making commitments, and probably most importantly, keeping those commitments. We have beat the guidance, I guess now every single time we've had these phone calls. And that's what we're really trying to go off and do. We're not trying to be overly ahead of our skis in terms of raising expectations to levels that we don't think that we can meet. We want to meet and beat expectations, and that's essentially how we operate this quarter.
You know, Renee, you were actually one of the few companies that did really well in China, but you also seem to be the go-to for if you take the Grace Blackwell, which is the most advanced chips or platform that NVIDIA has. How important are you when you get an NVIDIA Blackwell? Would I rip it up and I would see a lot of ARM?
You would. And what's going on is
real quick, guys. You know that Palantir $1 billion contract news that we talked about this morning? A Palantir employee just responded underneath my post, and he says, this is a big deal. Navy was always a tough nut to crack. So you got a Palantir employee basically confirming, yes, that's a real contract that we got. And Navy has always been tough to get into. And now Palantir just got $920 million for 5 years from the Navy. It's another reason the market might be giving it a premium. That government growth does not look like it's slowing down.
inside the data center, Jim, we are so excited about, because we've been talking about the data center at ARM for many, many years. And we had some big announcements over the last quarter where Microsoft announced general availability of their Cobalt chip for Azure. Google did the same for their Axion chip for GCP. Those are about 60% improvement in terms of performance and power over x86. And that's what we call general purpose compute. Now, when you talk about Grace Blackwell, that's going into AI clusters for training and inference, another level of computation in the data center, if you will. And Grace uses ARM. So every time NVIDIA ships a Grace Blackwell, that's a good thing for ARM. But probably more importantly, Jim, it's a great thing for the ARM ecosystem, because what that means is the same set of software that's being used to run these general purpose compute data centers are being used for these AI data centers. And it makes it very, very easy for operators to have a consistent software base, which just makes it very easy to migrate for ARM, which is great. So I think that's been a bit of a tailwind that has now started with everything going on with AI and everything that NVIDIA is doing.
You know, also, Renee, there's a lot of misunderstanding between your lawsuit with Qualcomm. I think people say, whoa, Qualcomm's big, ARM's small, $150 billion company, hardly small. But when I read through the pleadings, and I understand you can't go further than the pleadings, because that's not your job. I get to think that if Qualcomm doesn't come to the table, that most recent move that you made really exercised what is basically a drop dead for Qualcomm. Qualcomm would be pulled from a lot of different venues. Am I right?
Well, I can say this, it's an ongoing litigation, so there isn't a whole lot I can say about it, but the facts are pretty simple. Every contract that we have has an assignment clause that says if the company acquires another company, you have to get ARM's consent. We've done that 130 times in our history. We've granted consent 130 times. In this case, consent was not granted and has never been granted. So as a result, we have decided to send a notification to Qualcomm that they are in breach of their license because consent was not granted. That's really it. And the base principle of this, Jim, is really around fairness. We have contracts, as I said, that have this standard language. It's been adhered to every single time. And in fact, Qualcomm has adhered to it 3 separate times. So in a sense of fairness to the entire ecosystem and industry, we really felt we had no choice other than to really enact our rights and file the claim. So that's really about all I can say about it.
Well, Renee, I will follow up. It's David, and just ask. I mean, I know this thing, it's not in court yet.
All right, so that's what we got on ARM. Let's get another update just in terms of what else is going on in the market, and then we'll keep going from there.
For watching. Another chip maker in focus, Qualcomm rallying on rosy guidance. The company seeing stronger than expected demand in markets like autos and handsets. Stocks up 2.4%. Moderna's a top gainer as well, reporting a surprise profit. Revenue also comfortably beating estimates. That said, shares still a big underperformer on the year. And check out the move in Dutch Bros. Dutch Brothers up almost 40%. The coffee chain seeing revenue jump almost 30% from a year ago. Don't see that a lot in the consumer discretionary space.
Yeah, I have her one soon.
That's been one of your favorites too, right?
Oh, it's one of the
Bros.
best.
So Dutch Bros and Alf, again, some of these consumer names getting a lot of momentum. SMCI up 8%. So SMCI's preliminary earnings, Tesla 293.80, were kind of trash, but it's down 50%. So you're getting some people that are bottom feeding here, up 7.6% right now. Again, they need to get a new accounting firm. We're going to see what happens with that whenever they get that firm in. But I think you just got people thinking the bottom is in, which is why they're buying SMCI at 24.50. I think it's still a little risky, dude, just given management has not been that transparent. I haven't gone through their transcript yet. I will do that probably this weekend, but they did have an earnings call a couple days ago, and they probably talked more about this. Robin, look at that, 29.76. Robin trying to get back to 30. We did cross 30 yesterday, which was awesome. Big deal. We weren't able to close above 30. There were like 300,000 shares at 30 that we just broke through. So now we got to kind of see if we can get back above there, which it looks like the momentum is strong, but even holding above 28, 29, that was the previous resistance before earnings, is strong. And that 23.50 dip was a really good dip, given that nothing was really wrong with the earnings themselves. Rocket Lab 1344 up about 3% on the day. MicroStrategy 261, new all-time high for MicroStrategy. CleanSpark's up a little bit. Google 178, Palantir down about 3%, 53.87. Qualcomm up about 1%, and then Intel up 3.5% on the day as well. Didn't they start off the call by saying they wouldn't take questions on it? Oh yeah, you're right, they did. Maybe there's an argument that they didn't say anything about it then. I have to go through the transcript, but you're right. In the beginning of the call, we listened to that for like 30 seconds. They're like, we will not be answering questions. They're like, all right, let's turn this off. Like, what's the point of listening to this then? Munish says they have confirmed that by 15th November, they will inform NYSE on when the auditor will be appointed. Okay. So basically in 8 days, we will know if KPMG or Accenture decided to finally take their money. SMCI is probably begging them, like, dude, just take our money. Don't make us look back. Look at Tesla trying to break 295, folks. Oh my, let me check the resistance at 295. What do we have at 295? At 295 for Tesla stock, we have 159,000 shares, which is basically $47 million. So $47 million of stock has got to get there. Bobby, thank you for the $10 super chat. Bart Vaughn, thank you for the €11.99 Euro super chat. Is Intel a buy right here? Okay, so I don't still like Intel here, even though I know it's getting more bullish. My good friend Steve, I think we're about to get 295, bro. Holy crap. We are like 5. Oh, we touched it. We touched it for a second. Did we break through that $47 million then? I think we did. No. We still have 154,000 shares. We still have some more. We still need to break through that. Steve likes Intel a lot right here. Steve thinks that Intel is undervalued, given that the future of computers and chips and the new AI upgrade cycle will be demonstrated by Intel. So maybe that's why, Intel's worth a chance, but their foundry business still has some risks. Wow, breaking right through 295. Holy crap. 295.33. Goodness gracious, bro. That 47 million was swallowed up in seconds. 295.50. Holy shit. Whoa. Man, shout out to Derek. Derek, literally, I didn't even see your comment right here. I was about to say shout out to Derek because he just fucking loaded up on Tesla this morning. Look at the email I sent this morning on Tesla. Don't say the amount, okay? Let me pull up my email. All right, guys, this is going to be my raw reaction to what Derek emailed me. Holy shit. That's a lot of Tesla. That's a lot of Tesla. Dude, if you bought that in the morning and Tesla's already up, Derek did that at like 9:30. Tesla's up like 4% since then. That's a lot of Tesla. That is so people like Derek that are getting very bullish on Tesla and that have some deep pockets, that is probably why you're seeing this sucker just bust through these levels. It seems like $300 is an inevitability. Remember when Palantir was 37, 38? You could feel it. The energy was there. That 40 is coming. Like there's no way it's not coming. 300, it looks like it's on the way. And you got people that are pretty damn bullish and they're making their bets. They're making their freaking bets. It's a lot of money, bro. That's a lot of money. Goodness. All right, well, Derek, if there's a wall at 300, then we're going to need you to put in some more money, bro. We're going to need to get through this. For those that don't know Derek, again, a good friend of the channel, he initially introduced himself to the channel when he bought like 50,000 shares of Palantir at 23, when we couldn't break through like 23.50. And he helped us out here by buying $1 million worth of it. Now 23.50 is a distant memory for Palantir. I mean, Palantir would have to fall more than 50% just to get back there, which is crazy, bro. Because imagine 50% of the value based on all the contracts and deals just getting wiped away. Like it's hard to imagine that happens. The stock has been re-rated, and it looks like that re-rating, it's not like it can't have pullbacks, but a deep pullback, a deep correction as the rates are coming down back into the 20s. It just seems unlikely, bro. And if that does happen, it's one of those things where the thesis is not broken. Like, what kidneys can I sell? Do I need a liver to live? Do I need a liver? Like, what do I have to get rid of to get some more cash to buy Palantir? Pretty damn incredible. Robinhood's green on the day. Look at that. Hood's green as well. I mean, look, dude, Robinhood makes sense if you believe the market's going to be bullish over the next at least couple months. Robinhood is going to get all that transaction volumes. Dude, they said on election night they had 11 times their highest overnight trading volume on that election night because everyone was looking at Robinhood for stock prices and buying and selling. So, I mean, like the momentum they're going to have in November, along with the election contracts, just seems obvious. And we already knew October was good. And then you got rates coming down. So there is a real argument that Robinhood is going to have some strong momentum towards the end of the year. Wow, 296. 296 on Tesla. Okay, so where's the 297 resistance then? 297 resistance is 26,000, which is like not a lot of shares. Let me confirm that. 297 is, dude, I don't own Tesla, but my mom and my dad do own some Tesla. 297 is this thing moves so quick. Yeah, 26,000 shares. 26,000 shares, which is not a lot. Let me check my dad's Tesla right now. How much does he own? My dad owns 35 Tesla shares at an average cost of $246. So he's up 1,700. I think we're about to break 297, bro. Goodness gracious. My mom, she owns, I think, 60 shares of Tesla. Does she? Yeah, 60 shares of Tesla. Her average cost basis is $223. So she's up $4,000 on Tesla. Dude, my parents have made money throughout their entire life by, oh my God, we just broke through 297. What is happening, bro? Holy crap. I was saying my parents have made money their entire life through working for like a wage, you know? Like my dad's an entrepreneur, but it's always been exchanging time for money. It's never been like, I'll just let this money chill in this app on my phone. And then, you know, I wake up one day and there's thousands of dollars there. They're not used to that. They've never seen that before. So it's a pretty big deal as Tesla goes up because this is one of the first stocks they both bought. By the way, they bought 200 not in the summer. They bought it like years ago. So it's like it's been a, you know, they were down a lot of money when Tesla went to 150. But it is incredible to see this sucker right here at 297. Okay, so what's the resistance at 298? Let's just keep this party going. You know, Dan Ives, it's 9 a.m., 4 p.m., whatever the hell time it is. The party's going. 298 resistance is 66,523. So about 60,000 shares. We got to get through that. Robin at 29.61, Palantir 53.92, Nvidia 148.20. Let me check the resistance on Nvidia for 149. I think that's got to be like 1 million shares or something. That's going to be a lot of shares. I think that's going to be a big wall. At 149, we're looking at 206,000 shares, and then at 150, which is very psychological, we are looking at 1.1 million. All right, so the big wall is at 150. Smaller wall is at 149 for Nvidia. Third resistance is 307. Yeah, that's true. Third resistance right there is 307. You know the saying, follow what big money is doing. If Derek just loaded up at these levels, he must know something. I mean, I don't think it's like Derek knows something. It's just like when there's a trend, you know, Derek's been investing for like 40 years now, but when there's a trend and there's an uptrend, you buy into that strength, right? And that's a hard lesson I had to learn with Palantir. I should have bought a lot more Palantir in the 30s, but I didn't really get the concept of buying into strength. And I didn't make that mistake with Robinhood. I bought a ton at 25, 26, 27. I know we had the dip, but you get my point, right? Like you buy into strength when there's a really good narrative and like the company's executing. And Tesla, off those earnings, everyone thought they would like lose on EPS estimates. They would lose on deliveries. They beat all of those estimates. All the analysts had to be like, yep, this thing's probably $300, $350. Bank of America today upgraded it to $350. It's like when there's a good story, you don't reject it. You don't fight that story, essentially. And so I think big money, whether it's Derek or other people, are just realizing that story is real. And you got Trump in the office, bro. You got your best bud who can sign a couple pieces of paper to fast track the robotaxi network. Like, I don't really know how we spin that as necessarily bearish for Tesla. Eric says momentum trading is the best. Buy high, sell higher. Yeah, that is fair, especially when momentum is in your direction, you know? And I think there's a thin line between momentum and euphoria, but like, this is where how good of an investor are you to figure out what is euphoric and what is momentous? So in 2021, when Tesla was at 400, yes, that was euphoric. And that's why understanding the macro is important. Interest rates were low, SPACs were happening. There was just a lot of froth in the system. There's not a lot of froth in the system. It's not like the companies are cheap, but it's definitely not like companies are just expensive to be expensive. Because if you mess up on your earnings, you get smacked. And that is a sign of a healthy market, which means if you get share appreciation, that means you're not just getting share appreciation to get share appreciation. It's because the market is allocating capital into something they think is meaningful enough to allocate capital to. And that's why you got Tesla right here at 296, up about 3% on the day. Bart says, if you had 100K, what would you invest? Thank you for the super chat. Let's ask the chat. If you had 100K right now, what would you invest in? I kind of don't know the answer to that, dude. I really don't. It's a hard question. Honestly, the way I would do it is I would sell puts. I would find companies that I like at conservative deltas and I would sell puts. I wouldn't really, like if Robinhood was $20, I would say buy Robinhood, right? If Palantir was 24, I would say just put it into Palantir. If Tesla was 205, I would say, but like all those stocks are up a lot. So to me, I would just be selling options on the money. And then if I get assigned, then I get assigned and I lower my adjusted cost basis with the premiums. That's kind of what I would be doing. Let's get an update from CNBC. They were talking about Bitcoin yesterday as well. Had some analysts thinking that Bitcoin could get a little bit of love given the Trump presidency. So let's watch that. Actually, let's watch this clip first around the red sweep from the Republicans. Get some market perspective on that, and then we'll get into Bitcoin.
I mean, there are like 10 different things that are surging today. Asset classes, individual stocks. I mean, it's pretty remarkable.
Well, we have to talk about some of the moves I made. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But I think the message is that this administration is going to bring faster growth, maybe a little bit more inflation. That's what bond yields are telling you. The 10-year has rallied 75 basis points since September 18th when the Fed cut. They're already telling you, was already forecasting better growth, maybe a smidge more inflation. I don't think inflation is going to be a runaway. I think what's going to be really interesting, Scott, is we're going to get less government spending, but we're probably going to get a business investment cycle now because all the companies that I've talked to, all the CEOs, they were waiting for this. They were waiting for some sort of clarity. And thank goodness we actually got an answer, by the way. You know, I was worried about that, right?
Yeah, we wanted a clean election.
Clean. And so it was clean. So tariffs are still a question. Is it just China? Is it around the world? Looks like tariffs probably goes to maybe like 30% for China. Maybe it's 1 to 5% for the rest of the world. I think that's manageable. I don't know if that's really that inflationary. So the fact that people are nervous about that, we have to watch it. But I think overall, obviously, very good news today. And on top of what we talked about yesterday on halftime, we're already in a growth cycle in the economy, growing 2.5%.
Right.
The consumer's doing okay, manufacturing's doing okay. So I think the momentum can continue and earnings are going higher, and that's why stocks are going higher.
In other words, the backdrop was good no matter what happened last night. It just appears obviously more favorable for many areas of the market, clearly given the reaction today. Chris Harvey, the good news is you raise your S&P target to 5830. The bad news is we're at 59.23, my man. I mean, you're a little low now, aren't you still, even though you raised it? What's going on here?
Yeah, Scott, we're just having a hard time. So we have a multiple of almost 22 times on a 270 number. Our focus is now down to capitalization. That's where the value is. It's mid cap, it's small caps. I think small cap is more of a trade. Mid cap is where you want to park your bets. Up cap, it's just hard for me to justify those numbers. That doesn't mean that stocks are going to come back in. It's just I can't get there, right? Based on valuations and other things. So I find the value, I find the opportunity down the capitalization, better valuations, haven't participated. And you do have a pretty strong, as Stephanie was saying, you have a pretty strong economy. We're going to have some M&A, and things are going to start to get exciting from here.
You say we have underappreciated economic growth, solid earnings, tight credit spreads, and positive momentum.
Yep.
We being you guys, you?
No, I think the market.
The market.
So if you look,
how we underestimated that. I mean, we're at record highs. So even before today, we were only 1.5% from highs before we got the Trump bump.
Which is why we're moving down the capitalization. The small caps, the mid caps, they really haven't performed, right? If we look at 25, people still think that GDP is going to be below 2%. That's not a great environment for small caps, but in actuality, economy is much stronger than that. And that's one of the reasons why small caps are moving. Yes, you have a Trump trade, you have certainty, you have the Fed moving, you have tight credit spreads, but ultimately the economy is stronger than people really appreciate.
Okay, so the market cap, like the S&P 500, because the big names, the big market caps that are making the biggest difference within the index itself are just not going to do as well. It's not like you're making a bearish call on the market. It's just you're more nuanced because you think there's greater upside in things like the Russell, which
is actually bullish on the market. It's just diversifying sort of the S&P into other sectors, which is fair, especially because, the S&P is up a lot. So if we look at the Bitcoin rainbow chart right here, we are still in the buy zone. The Bitcoin rainbow chart is kind of this logarithmic understanding of when to buy, when to sell Bitcoin. And we are at the level where it currently is a buy. Every time it gets to the sell side of it, you see the decline. If you've never seen this Bitcoin rainbow chart before, I learned about it in 2023. And at 70,000 around here, 75,000, it does seem like the rainbow chart is saying that Bitcoin still is logarithmically a buy currently at these levels. Let's get a Bitcoin update as well, and we'll keep going from there.
Class that is rallying hard today. Bitcoin certainly among them. Take a look. Almost 75,000 as investors are betting on a friendlier environment for that industry under a second Trump administration. Mackenzie Sigalos is following that story for us. Mackenzie.
Hey, Scott. Bitcoin briefly surging to a new record high as investors bet that Donald Trump will deliver on his pro-crypto promises, especially with a Republican-controlled Senate behind him and after getting more than $25 million from crypto donors. Now, Trump's main pledge is to fire SEC Chair Gary Gensler, who's brought more than 100 enforcement actions against industry leaders like Coinbase and Robinhood. Those stocks are pumping 25% and 17% respectively today, with Robinhood on pace for its best day in over 2 years. Bitcoin miners are also getting a boost this morning, with Trump having promised on the campaign trail that all future Bitcoin will be mined in the U.S. Marathon, Riot, and Bit Digital are all trading up more than 14% and driving small caps higher as well. Now, in terms of the market outlook, multiple analysts are expecting Bitcoin will hit $100,000 before Trump's inauguration, especially if he delivers on promises like launching a strategic national crypto stockpile with the...
Bro, if we hit 100K before Trump gets sworn in, that's going to be wild, bro. Like, actually wild. That'll be just amazing.
$15 billion worth of Bitcoin that it already has on its books from asset seizures. And Scott, Bitcoin now up 68% year to date after briefly hitting that new all-time high overnight.
All right. Good look at that.
So you know what's also bullish for Bitcoin and bullish for one of the stocks you mentioned right there, Robinhood right here, 29.86. for Robinhood, which is one of the stocks you just mentioned right there, is this guy, Dan Gallagher. So Dan Gallagher is Robinhood's chief legal officer. He is being pitched as the replacement for Gary Gensler. So let's break this down. Gary Gensler is very anti-crypto. Trump, this is from familiar sources with Trump, is thinking of Dan Gallagher, who is a former SEC commissioner, who currently works at Robinhood and has been leading their kind of fight with the current administration around crypto products and crypto services, to be the new head of the SEC. If you get Dan Gallagher, who knows what it means for a company, because he's working at Robinhood right now, to try to enable crypto products into the marketplace, and actually understands how to deal with the regulatory frameworks to enable crypto to become more important, well, that means he's going to create policies, or he's going to be more policy friendly against things that Robinhood is trying to do. And not just Robinhood, but Coinbase, all these other companies, right? So it's not just about Robinhood, but it's about the entire crypto industry, which obviously benefits Robinhood. But B, you've got a guy who actually was in a company and understands the challenges those companies face. So when it's time to create policies to help them resolve those challenges, like, is it an unregistered security? Is it a commodity? Yada, yada. You have like someone who's not an idiot, who understands what the hell is going on here and who can actually like reasonably create a meaningful framework. So this is very, very bullish. Tesla right here at 297, Robin at 29.91. It's now green on the day. I don't know if Dan Gallagher is going to take the job, but if he does end up taking the job, it's going to be super bullish for Bitcoin and super bullish for Robinhood, just given he understands the reasons for why cryptocurrency is an important asset class for the United States. Let's get an update from Tesla, as we got Tesla at 297. This is one of the more bullish analysts from RBC, and get his perspective on what's going on with Tesla post-Trump.
Shares soaring on the back of Trump's presidential victory. GM and Ford also getting a boost. Tom Naran of RBC writing, we find the positive moves from US auto names puzzling, especially considering how they reacted to tariff threats during the first Trump administration back in 18 and 19. Most puzzling to us is the positive reaction to Tesla shares. Tom's with us around the table. Tom, good morning. What puzzled you about Tesla? What didn't make sense?
Well, it's just we don't have evidence that we're going to get national federal deregulation of AI. Tariffs is not a good thing for Tesla. And any repeal or attempted repeal of the IRA would really be bad for Tesla. So other than the fact that the CEO has a relationship with the president-elect, I don't really see why it would benefit shares of Tesla.
Do you have any confidence that he could stop those bad things from happening to the company?
I mean,
this is weird because this is actually a guy who's been pretty bullish the whole year. I mean, like, I feel like it's obvious having the most powerful man on the planet on speed dial. Like, I think that's more bullish than bearish.
We saw the first go around 2018, 2019. I mean, it was more of a threat, so it didn't really happen. So that could be a silver lining. Like, is this just a bluff? I don't know. I don't know what's inside the hearts of these individuals.
Well, I mean, what about dark matter? Don't you understand? I mean, I guess that this is sort of the question that we were just hearing about, which is like, how do you put some sort of price tag on a relationship that seems incredibly interconnected, and where there is one person who clearly has an ear into Donald Trump?
Okay, so here's where I would probably agree is, remember, like, autonomy is like 70% of my Tesla valuation, right?
Yep.
Robotaxi, FSD. If there is federal deregulation, that would be tremendous for Tesla. Not just Tesla, a lot of companies doing autonomy. So if that happens, sure, we just don't have evidence of it. The only commentary we've heard has been in Trump rallies to saying the opposite.
But Tom, we have a little bit of evidence, right? Trump 1.0, Tim Cook was dealing with some issues with Apple, called the president kind of, I think, leaning on his ego a little bit, and then said, can I come in and talk to you about it? And then Trump had a much better relationship with Tim Cook. Couldn't Elon Musk maybe get carve-outs for tariffs?
That is a good point. Tim Cook started to embrace talking with Trump, and Trump's a business guy. He likes having deals and relationships, and he wants to get to know people. So there is an argument that a lot of these CEOs that were tweeting congrats to Trump yesterday are going to go personally to the White House, talk to him, and see if they can really get to be friendly with the administration.
Tariffs, but then also get deregulation on the back end because of his relationship, and given how Trump likes to run his White House, he's in a prime position.
Well, the optics of how do you single out one automaker versus another?
Biden administration didn't. They had GM over and didn't have Tesla when they had this whole EV announcement.
Robinhood's back to 30, folks. Robinhood at 30.
Yeah, but that was more of optics, right? Because of the UAW situation. That wasn't an actual policy. I think it'd be very difficult to give preferential treatment to one OEM and not the others. We saw cleantech get destroyed. Shares of cleantech stocks got destroyed. The same beneficiaries as Tesla, energy storage, EV credits, etc., making batteries. How do you benefit one company and not the others? The only way I see it is if it's a rising tide lifts all boats. If he was able to convince President-elect to change policy altogether, but I don't see that's what's happening.
Although we did see shares gain in Ford and GM. You said it was a little bit confusing, and it was even more confusing to Tesla shares rising as much as they did. There's a larger question about de-emphasizing some of the shift in terms of composition of autos that they make, and that could potentially really benefit their business models, especially if the transition has been.
Okay, so as this guy is super bearish on this Trump thing, that's weird, bro. This guy's been bullish all year. I don't know how you're bearish on Trump and Tesla. Robinhood $29.94. Tesla is like 5 cents away from touching $298. Let me check the resistance there. I still think it's like 100,000 shares, if I'm not wrong. Tesla $297. Bro, if this thing gets to 298, it's gonna want 300. Like, it's gonna really want 300. 298 has 66,000 shares, so still the same amount. It's not a ton of shares to buy up at that level. Tesla's market cap now $956 billion. I think 315 is when you get to $1 trillion on Tesla. And you're at 297. Amit, do you think Duolingo's overpriced? Duolingo price target raised to 350 from 250 at DA Davidson. No, their growth is phenomenal. DA users, daily active users, bookings, subscriptions, they grew 40% revenues yesterday. It's just the stock is up a lot. That's why the stock is down. Duolingo year to date is up 50% even after, well, it's green today. It went green. Yeah, it's up 1% so now. They had great earnings. Is it overvalued? I don't know enough about the financials to say it's overvalued. But their growth is incredible, right? Like, it's just amazing growth. So if you're buying it for that growth to continue, you just have to be a little weary that if 2025 doesn't live up to 2024, then that growth could come down and, maybe you could see some downside. But I don't really know if it's overvalued or undervalued. I do know that the growth is amazing and the market is giving it a little bit of a multiple. 14 billion on Duolingo. Wow, it's at a 30 times price to sales. That's one of the first companies I'm seeing with a pretty high price to sales outside of Palantir. I mean, 30 times price to sales is a lot to pay, bro. That does, doesn't feel undervalued there at 30 times price to sale. Yeah, I mean, that metric alone makes me, again, there's probably a deeper story there, but the market's paying for that growth right there for Duolingo. Robinhood right back to 30, up about 4.42% of the day. Tesla 297. I think Tesla wants 298, bro. I mean, momentum's in the right direction. You're probably going to have some sellers right here, which is why it's getting hard to break above 298, but it looks like it wants it. Let's do this. We haven't done this in a while. Put in the chat if you own Tesla. Put in the chat if you own Tesla. We haven't done this in like a month. Put in the chat if you own Tesla. If you want to put the number of shares, feel free to do that, but put in the chat if you actually own it. Rodney says it's very sad this guy can't understand how removing subsidies would destroy competition for Tesla. Ford just lost over 1.2 billion last quarter on EVs. Yeah, that's his argument about you can't show bias to different OEMs. It's not about showing bias. It's about the other guys don't survive without like Rivian, for example, that has not had a positive gross margin in over 5 years. If you don't have an EV subsidy, the incentive goes down. And for Tesla, because the cars are just so much better and because of FSD, even if the incentive goes down to switch to EV as oil prices come down, you're still going to have a significant amount of people buying Teslas over the competition, which means Tesla doesn't die, but the other guys get close. And so I agree, Rodney. That was a very weird take where he's saying you can't be super biased, because it's not. It's just about the impact of what the EV subsidy will have on the entire market. Okay, so we got a lot of people that own Tesla stock. We got a lot of people. Jed has TSLL. Oh, this bad boy. Goodness gracious. TJ has a big position in this as well. So on Friday, we'll go through the public portfolio. I think we have close to $1 million in puts, or like 500 grand in cash cleared puts here. So 6% on the day. TSLL this week is up 36%. So it's been a pretty damn good week for TSL. Now, year to date, it's only up 14% because of NAV erosion. That's the push and pull with this. So in the past 5 days, it's up 40%. Year to date, it's only up 14%. And obviously that's because, the dilution from the NAV erosion on these leverage ETFs can be tough. But if you get in at the right time, then it becomes an amazing trading instrument. Flying Money owns 150 shares of Tesla. Bill 777 shares. Eeyore 200 shares. Rate cuts. FOMC meeting will be at 2:30. I'll be live, and we'll see that with Jay Powell. Pelias owns 1,080 shares of Tesla. All for you 560 shares. 500 shares from RBI. 2,000 shares in Tesla from Fritz. A lot of you own Tesla. Eric says, I have Tesla stock in January 2025, 245 calls. Oh, those should be up a lot, dude. 245 January 2025s should be doing decent. Doug has 500 Tesla shares. Yeah, dude, it's just hard to see it. It's just hard to see it not being part of a portfolio long term. It really is, especially if you're bullish AI. Robinhood at 30, Tesla 297, Duolingo 323, TSLL at 16. I think Tesla wants 300, bro. I mean, psychologically, the market makers might not give it to us today, but I think it wants 300. Eric's up 239% on those. Yeah, that's incredible, dude. So I think sometimes it's important to take a step back and like look at your option positions for those that buy calls, and like 239% on your money is insanity, bro. Like making 239% on a dollar, putting $1 in and getting 239% back on top of that dollar. That's not easy to do, bro. It's like really hard. Like most people on the planet do not know how to do that. So it's pretty, even if you know the basics of call options, and this year you've been able to be in some positions and you've seen some results. Obviously it's been a good year, which has helped. It's one of those things to just remember. It's like, it's a hard skill to have, and doesn't mean you're going to be right on everything, but it's pretty incredible when some of these end up working out. Yeah, a lot of you guys got Tesla. ACDC 791 Tesla shares as well. Well, I'll be helping all your Tesla shares today because I'll be buying a Tesla. So I will be doing my part for Q4 deliveries. Robinhood above $30, $30.02. So after this market open, I'm going to pick that up. I should be back in time for Jay Powell. I'm like, Jay Powell's at 2:30. I should be back by like 2:15 latest. So I'm going to pick that up in a couple hours. I'll be back. And then we'll get into Jay Powell and see what Jay Powell has to say. Which model? Model Y. Got the Model Y, white on white. You know, my mom hates that I got the white interior, but I was talking to a friend yesterday and he says, like, even if you spill something on it, given the type of the way they make the car, it gets cleaned up very easily, or it barely shows. So I'm not going to spill anything on it because I'm responsible. I'm not, drinking random drinks in the car, even though I do that. But I'm going to be super careful on the Tesla because the moment my mom sees a market, she's going to be like, I told you the white interior. But the white interior looks like a spaceship, bro. It looks so beautiful. So it's just way better than the black interior. Once you own it for a little bit of it, you're going to want to buy Tesla shares. That's what everyone tells me. Once you experience it, you're going to want to buy the Tesla shares so badly. I mean, even that test drive I had a couple of weeks ago, I was like, damn, I can move the air conditioning with my finger? The fuck is this, bro? I was like, what is this? What did Elon, like, what? Like, you can move the air conditioning with your finger? I can just move my finger here. The air conditioning goes there. Like, it felt like magic, bro. I was like, this is ridiculous. This is crazy. My Bluetooth doesn't even work in my Honda Civic right now, dude. So like going from that to like a big screen that controls everything is pretty cool. Is Bitcoin at 76? Bitcoin's trying to break 76. Bitcoin was at 74 this morning. Yeah, look at that. Bitcoin above 76. There you go. Up 1.6%. Dude, if we get an end of the year with Bitcoin to freaking 100, Tesla, if Bitcoin's at 100, I think Tesla's above 300. I think Tesla's closer to like 320. Palantir maybe at 60 if that happens. That's a full melt up. S&P is going to be above 6,000. Like, that's going to be big, dude. Will the $7,500 tax credit go away with Trump? Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know. I kind of think that it's not going to go away and he's just using it as like a campaigning tactic, but Elon is like going to get him to not take it away. But that's one of the other reasons I wanted to get the Tesla, because it's just so much more cheaper. And New Jersey gives you another $2,000 tax credit. So it's $9,500 off with 0% APR. Without having to buy FSD. So to me, it was just like, all right, this is a pretty good deal. I don't know. I don't think it goes away, but like maybe there's a world where he gets rid of it. And if it does, the good thing is rates will come down, so it'll be more affordable to buy a Tesla. But that 7,500 is definitely something that gets people excited to buy it. Tom Lee did call for 150K end of year on Bitcoin back in the spring. That is true. Bernstein said 200,000 by the end of next year for Bitcoin. MicroStrategy. Wow, MicroStrategy. Holy crap, dude. 265. If you were able to withstand the volatility of MicroStrategy this year, and I know a couple people that have gotten some really good money off this stock this year, especially in the options, but they had to go through a lot, bro. They had to really hold through and just stomach it every single day. It's getting up there now, and it's getting up there as Bitcoin continues to go higher. And it's still cheaper on a alpha to NAV basis, like the premium you pay on the net asset value compared to Bitcoin, than it was in 2021 when Bitcoin was 70,000. It's 3.5 right now. In 2021, it was 6x. So if it has more room to run, maybe it gets back up to that 6x level, or maybe even higher than that. Where's Tesla? 297.56. All right, still trying to get above. Robinhood's above 30. Robinhood's above 30. $30.03 on Robinhood. Tesla 297.69. Trying to make its way back to 298. Do you see any long-term risks or problems 3 to 4 years with the red sweep now? So remember, the red sweep is going to last for 2 years until to determine if we keep the red, like the House and the Senate and not the executive branch, but the House and the Senate. In terms of long-term risks, if the tariffs actually end up being worse than what people think it's going to be, and the Republicans were able to get the tariffs passed because they controlled all parts of the government, that could be the risk. But it depends on how bad the tariffs are and how much of a trade war it starts. Outside of that, for the economy, I don't know what the red sweep would do that's really bad. Again, tariffs, if that leads to inflation, all that stuff, that's another question. But in terms of like we're going to lower taxes. Now that will drive up the deficit, but if Elon makes the government more efficient and we increase GDP growth, maybe we grow out of that problem, right? That's the idea. But it would have to be inflation. Oh, 298. 298 has been breached on Tesla. Wow, broke through it. Look at that, 298.20. Look at that. Just broke through. Dude, this stock was 289 in the morning. Every single dollar broke through. 299 resistance now is 94,000. 94,000 shares at 299 to break through. 94,000 shares to break through. Wow, what a run. Tesla was up 14% yesterday. It's up 3% today. It was up 25% after earnings. So it's basically up 40% since earnings. Just below 298 right now, but trying to hold that 298 level and breakthrough. Incredible stuff. So yeah, in terms of the red sweep, I think only if lower taxes leads to increased deficits and tariffs are bad, that could be the problem. But if you think those things go the opposite way and it actually increases growth, then maybe that's actually not bad and it doesn't increase inflation as well. So it seems like that shouldn't be the worst thing. Resistance for 300. Let me check that. At 300, resistance currently is 436,000. 436,000. So 300 is going to be really tough. 300 is not. If it breaks through 300, I don't know if it's coming back down below easily, because once you have that much buying momentum coming in, you have some momentum. Oklo just got approved in Idaho. Okay, is Oklo up on this news? Oklo is up 14% on this news. There you go. All right, shout out to the Idahoans. That's probably, I'm saying that wrong, but still. Idaho is known for potatoes. And I think Lay's potato chips also has a big factory in Idaho as well. So I want to visit Montana, Idaho, Wyoming. I've never been to those parts of America. And I really want to go there because I feel like that's a part of America I've never connected with. And I would love to just actually like see what it feels like to be in that part of America. Wyoming also has some beautiful mountains. It would be so nice to actually visit to those levels. Derek will solve it. 433,000 shares is a lot of shares. I mean, Derek could solve that, but that's a lot of shares to end up buying. The other thing about the red sweep, I was listening to this yesterday. If the Republicans give us a good economy, right, and they execute on all their policies, after Trump, I think the next guy up is JD Vance. JD, in my opinion, is one of the most articulate guys I've ever heard speak. And I've listened to a couple podcasts of him, and he's very, very articulate. And at least in my opinion, he's likable. I know in the beginning of the campaign, he was kind of weird, but like he's turned into a guy who's likable. If the Republicans execute and then JD is up for election in 2028 and maybe he has Vivek as his VP, dude, I don't know if we're going blue in the next 4. I mean, we might have red for the next 8 to 12 years at that point, unless something really bad happens in this 4 years and then the country shifts. But I don't know if that's the case. Also, I want to show you guys a picture as well. This picture kind of blew my mind yesterday. If you look at the presidential map, and not just the Electoral College, yeah, this is the picture. This is not the Electoral College. This is just American counties. America's very Republican, bro. All that blue is in New York and LA and in little pockets across the country. But the majority of America, just based on this chart, it is objective, is Republican. You've got New York with a lot of people, and you got California with a lot of people. Outside of that, you don't have that much blue everywhere else. There's small patches inside of largely red areas, and that makes sense with the Electoral College because Trump was able to flip every swing state outside of Minnesota, but Minnesota wasn't really a swing state because the Democrats always win that. So 312 to 226, 72 million versus 68 million. Overwhelming mandate the American population is giving to Donald Trump right here and the Republicans with the House and the Senate. So that's what you got. That's what you got in the context of the red. I am from New Jersey, Ricardo. So I'm from New Jersey. New Jersey was 47-52 Kamala. So she won by about 5% here as well. That's all space and farmland and woods. It's misleading. Yeah, but the point is in that space and farmland and woods, you have a lot of people that are still voting red. I get that literally in California, there's more people that are in, the next 3 Republican states combined. I get it. But my point is, there is still a lot of land in the country that is occupied by people that are red, even if the literal population is not as big as the population of San Francisco or California. But there's pockets of blue that are overly populated and that will vote blue. I get it. It's just when you see this chart, you realize there's a lot of part of the country that just doesn't believe in the eliteness of the East and West Coast. And I want to visit those places, dude. I want to visit Montana. I want to see those parts of America just because, I've never really seen it. 297 on Tesla, so couldn't get through that 298 level. I mean, it broke through for a little bit, 298.35 now, selling off a little bit under. Any close above 295 to me would be super bullish, in my opinion, by the end of the day. So that wouldn't be the worst thing ever. Yeah, and Trump won the popular vote. I mean, the popular vote. Dude, a Republican hasn't won the popular vote since Bush, bro. Like, that's just... It's pretty incredible how that ended up turning out. Sham is more articulate than Vance. Dude, imagine if Sham was the vice president of America, bro. That would be crazy. You guys saw my podcast with Sham. Sham is one of the most, dude, he's just such a smart guy. Like, just the way he's able to articulate ideas, put them together, explain big picture nuanced concepts. I mean, Sham is just, I'm so proud he's the CTO of Palantir, dude. And if you've talked to any of the Palantir employees, they say he's the hardest working guy in Palantir. Like, this is the guy that will be in back-to-back meetings for 48 hours trying to get shit done. So I think he was the 13th employee of the company back in 2006. And he's been there, since the very beginning. So I think it must mean a lot to these employees seeing Palantir at this level, bro. Like, it's got to be just wild to see it at 120 billion. Given they were there when it was basically zero. Pretty incredible. All right, guys, I got to get out of here. I'll be back at 2:15, 2:20ish to start the JPOW stream. We will have a long market close because we've got to discuss JPOW, the press conference, and then we have a ton of earnings after the bell. Real quick, these are the earnings today. We have Airbnb, Rivian, Square, Trade Desk, DraftKings, Cloudflare, Pinterest, Fortinet, Upstart, Lucid, Unity, Affirm, Monster, Sweetgreen, Dropbox, Toast, Redfin. I'm going to lose my voice. I'm already losing my voice right now. I'm definitely going to lose it after the bell today. So we got a lot of stocks to get into, and we will keep going from there. All right. Thank you, everybody. I will see you guys in a few hours. Bye, everyone. Have a good one.